What's up, Gabriel?
Ian, my friend, good to see ya.
Good to see you.
Must be Wednesday,
That week
and
went
good to
by
see all
fast.
of you. Yeah, it did. Oof. Closing in on spring around here. Hey, it's almost Twin Peaks Day too. Welcome to Blank as a Fart, everyone. My name's Gabe. There's my friend Ian. We're watching Twin Peaks, and we're having fun doing it.
I
Um,
mean, sure.
well, we're having fun talking about doing it.
Dude, we had a long episode last week. 2.5 hours. Whew.
Well, did you not edit out the intermission? Did
I
you
don't
leave all
remember.
of that
I
in?
probably did.
Oh, shit.
What was the intermission? Oh, that was totally worth it though. You were like making a drink and talking. That's why I left that in.
Yeah, if you say so. Anyway, yeah, long episode last week. I don't know if we'll have as long of one this week. It's not quite as weird. This one's more just, huh? So we'll see what we have to say about it. But thanks to all of you who have been tuning in and listening live and post live. We're seeing some good numbers, Ian tells me. So thank you all for that. We've got the email, blanketofheartpod@gmail.com.
Maybe we have
Eventually I'll check it.
maybe eventually after, this is
Maybe
only the
eventually.
third season of
We'll
this.
keep plugging it. Season. I don't know that we're actually doing seasons.
Well, we're
Art
in the
do
third. No,
podcasts have seasons?
We're in the third season of the show, though. I mean, you would think at
We are
some
in the third
point,
season of the show.
perhaps someone has written us, probably back during the first season of the show, being like,
Maybe.
can't wait till you get to season 2." It's like, okay,
That seems unlikely, but it's worth checking. Someday.
after a long dead.
After, yeah. Some data miner someday is going to find these random emails. Data archaeology. That'll be a thing someday. We're already rambling here, folks. Maybe we should get right into the episode, unless we got other housekeeping, any other
That was all. That
projects we
was
want to
all on
promote.
point. That was all. That was all relevant.
Yeah. It was on brand, if not on point.
Mm.
Anyhow, yeah, part 4 of The Return is where we're at. If you're following along, if you're just dropping in, man, you've got a hell of a lot of catching up to do. So you should really go back and watch our previous 33 or 35 episodes.
No, this is episode 37.
Really? Oh, yes, we had the bonus episode, the cast list episode.
Mm. Mm.
So, yeah, go back and watch all that shit before you watch this one. Unless you just feel like hanging out. We're done with that too.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we'll dig right into the recap here.
Let's do it.
As part 4 opens, night has fallen at the Golden Mustang Casino, and Dougie Jones is still winning jackpots, hitting the big one on slot after slot, with each win accompanied by the classic "Hello." The floor attendant rushes around, trying to find Dougie with an armful of buckets for him to hold his copious winnings, while a couple of pit bosses and some security guards watch on as he continues to cash in. The homeless-looking woman approaches Dougie. She's all smiles now, tugging on his sleeve and asking which one she should go to next. Dougie helpfully points out the next slot he sees with that same floating vision of the Black Lodge over it. And sure enough, she hits it right on the money. She thanks Dougie profusely, calling him Mr. Jackpots. And this brings a small smile to his face. Bits and pieces of his humanity starting to come through that flesh robot that he's become. The floor attendant, whom it's worth noting is played by longtime Lynch producing partner Sabrina Sutherland, informs the pit bosses that that's the 30th jackpot struck that day. Huh. That's the exact number of episodes in the original series. And it's Sabrina delivering that line.
Hmm.
I'll let you decide if there's any significance to that.
None
A lot of
whatsoever.
people seem to think there is.
None whatsoever.
No. The pit bosses, who are played by Hollywood vets Brett Gelman and David Dasmalchian, look on in terror, presumably trying to figure out how to explain to their bosses how they've lost millions of dollars in a day. So yeah, Brett Gelman, I think most people are going to know him from Stranger Things. He plays the role of Murray. Whereas David Dastmalchian, he's kind of been around everywhere, a bit of a character actor. I liked him a lot in The Suicide Squad, James Gunn one, where he plays Polka Dot Man.
He's also in. He's also which Dark Knight is he in?
The Dark Knight,
The
yeah,
Dark Knight.
the second, yeah,
Second.
where he plays a Joker henchman that gets threatened by
Yeah.
Harvey Dent. Yeah, that was one of his earlier Hollywood roles. So been around a while.
That's the one I remember him the most because he's the most sweaty and just.
Oh, and he's Ant-Man's Russian friend, Kurt.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. David Dastmalchian, folks, and Brett Gelman, who's also been, mostly around the indie comedy scene in like the early 2000s, mid 2000s. A lot of one-offs here and there.
Cool.
He's fun in this episode. We'll get to him in a little bit. But first, we'll get to another guest star. Suddenly, a man across the room recognizes Dougie and calls out his name. He introduces himself, or reintroduces himself, as Bill Shaker.
I almost didn't recognize him. He's so ripped now that I didn't even recognize him.
He doesn't look terribly ripped in this costume. I mean, he looks like he's...
No, but I mean, like if you see him today, he's like
loving himself.
He's a different...
But yeah, no, he's...
different. It's like, oh my gosh, that guy.
Dude got jacked, yeah.
He's the guy that sings the cool...
gang.
He sings the cool blues in Remember the Titans. He's got the soul.
He has that soul. He's also the Nazi in American History X. So he's got range, folks. And we probably were all introduced first to him as the guy who couldn't see the 3D picture in Mallrats.
I've never seen Mallrats, so.
Wow.
I'm not a big Kevin Smith fan, so.
Fair enough. He's an acquired taste. Anyway, Bill is accompanied by his wife, who's holding a drink, while Bill sports a massive hot dog in his right hand, which Cooper stares intently at as Bill munches away during their somewhat one-sided conversation. Bill compliments Dougie's new look, but doesn't understand why Dougie isn't responding to him. Bill's wife, whose name we learn as Candy once we see the credits, so I'll just throw it out here, obviously senses that something is not quite right with poor Dougie. She kind of rides the vibe. He latches onto the word home, and Candy seems to sense that that's Dougie's core need at the moment. It's hard to describe these one-sided conversations without just repeating them verbatim. So it's hard to. These are bad recaps, folks. You just kind of have to watch it to. Basically, the guest star does a bunch of exposition, and Dougie repeats 5 or 10 of the words back to demonstrate minimal understanding.
And in most narratives, they would do it once, maybe twice, so you got the point of it, and then you'd move on. But they do it. David Lynch just keeps going back to it over and over and over and over. It's great.
Cares how long a fucking scene is.
It's not even that. It's just that you've seen this scene before. Let's do this scene again.
I mean, just the level of absurdity it devolves into. And I'll tell you now, we're not done. Not by a long shot.
I imagine.
I don't know. There's lots of theories behind this, and I'll have to do more reading up on them before we explore them, but we'll have more material to dive into later in the series. Anyway, Dougie's not all there, but everybody around him seems to get enough of what's there to help him get where he needs to go next.
It almost makes you think that like Dougie was not an important person to begin with because they can exist almost with him but without him. You know what I mean? It's like it was like
you might think he was manufactured for a purpose.
Right? And they had to go on with their lives.
But was that purpose what we expected?
I don't know. No.
Probably. Maybe not.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out, huh?
We'll see. Some more ridiculous banter reveals that Dougie lives on Lancelot Court, not too far from Merlin's Market.
I like how they are in
Some
Vegas.
more
They're in Vegas, and then they use all these like fucking what is the fucking
the
Excalibur?
Arthurian.
But they use all
Yeah.
the Excalibur references, kind of, and it's just like, were they just driving? Was he just, I don't know, like, oh, there's the Excalibur in Vegas. We'll just make it sound like it's anyway.
Well, no, because there's Glastonbury Grove. Glastonbury is also a reference to Arthurian legend. So this ties back to the original series if you're looking hard enough.
Oh, well, I just took it as, oh, we're in Vegas, and now we're just gonna do all this Excalibur Arthurian stuff. That's
No.
Vegas.
This, yeah.
I'm gonna say that it's
This
lazy
is,
and not has anything to do with that.
I'm going to disagree with you on that one.
And I'm gonna
This is like Dougie seeing the sign for Sycamore Street
sure, kind of, but
and like
I don't
being
think
a
it's.
tie back.
I'll give you that one, but I feel like this other one is like, because how important was the Glastonbury one in the show?
Glastonbury Grove is where the portal to the Black Lodge is.
I thought those were the sycamores.
Yes, Glastonbury Grove is where the sycamore trees are.
I see. Got you.
Yeah. So
I guess
yeah,
I'm just so fed up with all of it that it's just like, can we just move on? I don't know.
not for another 15 episodes. Got a little more road to travel here.
A little more. I hope my wheels meet that road.
If it rises up, they will.
We'll find out.
Anyway, Bill and Candy guide Dougie toward the cab station at the front of the casino. Candy does seem concerned for Dougie. Bill a little less so, more interested in his hot dog.
I was surprised that
Dougie,
they didn't offer to drive him home. Like I was waiting for her to like offer to drive them home or something, him home, and then no, clearly not. Just get lost.
No, they're drinking and they're gambling.
Get a cab, dude.
They're not ready to drive.
Get a cab.
That's where they told him. I mean, he knows where he lives, right?
So random.
How hard is it to get your own cab home, right?
It's like such a plot device. Like we need to figure out a way that he figures out his address. Let's have this random person. Like this is the problem with Lynch a lot of times. Like he is like, as much as he is considered a visionary filmmaker, he's also a lazy fucking filmmaker at times. And this show really points it out.
You're gonna come to find out that most of Dougie's journey is guided. Let's just put it that way.
Yes.
Who's guiding him? Who can say, really?
The writers.
The writers. If you want to get meta about it, sure. And maybe that's how we're looking at it. If you ask some people, it is. But let's do some more recap before we hop down that rabbit hole. Before Dougie can leave the casino, he's tracked down by the floor attendant and the clean-shaven pit boss, who guides him into the manager's office so he can be awarded his winnings. The manager, voice dripping with false platitudes, tries to encourage him to stay and perhaps spend a little more of his money, which used to be the casino's money. However, Dougie has latched hard onto that idea of home, and now that he knows his name and approximate address, he's able to get the manager to summon a limo to take him there with his sack full of cash. On the ride home, the limo driver tries to elicit a little more information from Dougie about his address besides just red door. But it turns out not to be necessary, as he's able to spot it pretty easily, despite it being nighttime, making it hard to see the colors. Dougie still needs a little physical encouragement from the driver to exit the vehicle, though he is still clinging tightly to the money sack.
And they keep bringing that up. Like, it's going to be so hard to see the door colors. And it's like in my head, as soon as he says the red door, it's like, are you kidding me? This is a David Lynch thing. The door is going to be brightly lit. You're going to fucking see it.
Yes.
Like, have you never seen a fucking David Lynch film or any? It's like, I was just like, I felt like I was being like they were being condescending in a sense. It's like, we get it. It's going to be fucking red. Like, why? That's like treating the viewer extremely stupid. So I felt treated very stupid in that situation. Anyway.
I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Let's just go to it. It's red. Oh, he could eat. Like, you know what would have been smarter? Like, it's gonna be really hard to see. Oh, there's a red door. Like, that would have been no shit, motherfucker. Anyway.
But no,
Not gonna get saucy.
we got to get a little far too early for that. As Dougie remains motionless by the side of the limo, the driver kindly offers to wait with him until he's ready to go in. A long, awkward silence follows, eventually broken by the hooting of an owl. There's another glimmer of recognition in Dougie's eyes as the driver amicably comments about how he gets spooked by those downright creepy raptors.
Remember in
I added that
Disney,
last part.
in the Disney Sword in the Stone, Merlin was an owl.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Tying it all together.
The owls are not what they seem.
But they're magical.
They have a market near Lancelot Drive.
Merlin.
Where there's a portal to Glastonbury Grove.
What is the dragon breath?
But, what's that?
Isn't it the dragon breath? Isn't that what? That's what Arthur's father asks for, so he can make love to the woman that then spawns Arthur in the film Excalibur. The dragon breath. Merlin brings the dragon breath. Have you never seen that movie?
The Sean Connery one? No.
No. Sean First Night with Richard Gere. No. The one with Liam Neeson and Patrick Stewart. The old one by John. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Oh, the one from like the early 80s.
Yeah, early 80s.
No, I have not.
By Borman. Yeah.
I don't know who Borman is. Hey man, you never saw Mallrats. I think,
I mean, as a cinephile, I feel like it's okay. I don't watch Kevin Smith. But
did you see Dogma at least? No. Dogma was decent.
No. I've stayed away with that like the plague. Like,
that is your prerogative.
It is. It's been a wise one too.
I don't know how to segue back to this introduction here. But after the hooting owl, we are now introduced to Dougie's wife, played by the inimitable Naomi Watts. She immediately marches up to Dougie and slaps him hard across the face as the driver politely turns away. The wife demands to know where Dougie has been when Dougie remains silent, as is his current gimmick. The driver helpfully brings the wife up to speed before making a hasty exit. I'm just going to go ahead and start calling her Janie E, because I don't know how many episodes we have to go before somebody says her name out loud.
Oh, okay.
So we'll just go in on it now. We don't get anyone saying it out loud this episode. We do get it in the credits, and that happens with a ton of characters in this show. So I'm just going to go into this assuming y'all have watched and y'all have looked at the credits. And so I'll just refer to these characters by their names henceforth. Sound fair, everyone? If not, I don't give a shit.
Objection sustained.
Overruled. Overruled. Bow down to the king. When Dougie remains silent about the current gimmick, the driver helpfully brings the wife up to speed before making a hasty retreat. Janie E justifies her rage expositionally to the audience by explaining that Dougie has been AWOL for 3 days, not only missing work, but Sonny Jim's birthday. Oh my God. Talk about a deadbeat dad.
He was fucking whores.
Yeah. Jade gives 2 rides, man. She drags him into the home by the scruff of his neck and slams the red door behind them, sitting him down at the dining room table and demanding an explanation while peppering him with further questions about his new appearance. She eventually snatches the bag and opens it up to see all of the money inside. Her rage dissolves into shock as she fervently questions Dougie as to the origins of the money. He passively stares around the room before finally speaking up when she hits on a word that he recognizes: jackpot. Mr. Jackpots. The wife's shock becomes relief when she realizes that the money has been legitimately obtained. She makes the weird offhand comment that there's more than enough money to pay them back. Does this have something to do with the greasy guy with the ponytail and the rifle and the other one with the car bomb? Mayhap.
Probably.
She sheds a tear and draws a shaky breath, then comments, "This is the most wonderful, horrible day of my life." I fucking love her delivery of that line. It's awesome. She heads right to the kitchen to make him up a sandwich and a slice of chocolate cake, Sonny Jim's birthday cake to be exact, before planting a big kiss on his forehead and telling him she's glad he's home.
So I guess the question here is that I have is like, well, if he was manufactured for this, then
No, he was manufactured. Well, I mean, one interpretation is that he was manufactured as a trap for Cooper's soul or spirit or whatever you want to call it, which would have forced the doppelganger spirit back into the lodge. So Dougie is a spare meat puppet.
sure,
That's the best we can describe him right
but
now.
then they also he created this whole life for himself, also, and then
See that? Yeah, that's a part that's hard to describe. Is
like I got
mean,
him being the meat
when
puppet.
was Dougie created, so to speak?
That's what I'm saying. Like if he was the meat puppet,
If he's
and
a,
he was
a dad to a 10-year-old
yes,
kid,
exactly.
then,
So he
it has to have been
way
some
long
time
ago.
ago.
Like
Yeah.
had to have been basically as soon as probably around the time that Cooper went to fucking Twin Peaks or something and started investigating all this shit, because like it seems weird that then he would, it would be easy to think that they just created him recently, and that made sense that he was just like kind of this disheveled man having sex with a whore in a house and just kind of, but as soon as he's been married and has a kid that's like 10 however old he is, it's like, well, this is a fucking long play here.
I mean, yeah, but you also have to look at Dougie's characteristics. Like, he's an adulterer. He's obviously a serial gambler, given like he's in serious debt. And Janie E expresses great concern when she learns he was at a casino. So, like, he's not built from good parts, so to speak.
But it was okay. So here's the other question: is that I don't know. I mean, none of it makes sense. I mean, that's the point, I guess. So whatever. But, I mean,
I
like,
know more than I can let on.
I
I'll tell
know,
you
but
that.
there's part of it like it's like, well, there's that whole thing where maybe she and Mr. C were connected, and then he replaced himself with Dougie to move on to something different. But then everyone's talking about how Mr. C like makes everyone he get in contact with sick. I don't know. So like it really there's a lot of shit that like, it's like I don't know. It's like, do I care? I'm sure they'll tell us. They're gonna tell us.
Are you sure they'll tell you?
No,
Are you,
I'm
though?
sure they're not. But it's gonna be suffice.
Not
enough
everything.
they're gonna tell me enough to be like, okay, that's good. Okay, I'm fine with that. I can live with that. Because I mean, this is like, at what point is this? This is the 1, 2, 3. This is like the fourth-ish sequence of just dealing with this whole Dougie conversation. It's just like, it's just tiring. It's just like, it was very tedious having to sit through all. I mean, it's kind of funny, I guess, but it was just kind of like, can we move this on? Can we cut to something else? Can we do anything else? Like, it's just like, I get it. He's not Cooper. He's like a void.
He is, but he isn't.
Well, I know. I get it. It's like long amnesia. We're playing the long amnesia game, and David Lynch is probably gonna like, he has all his friends working, and like he has the FBI working, and he has Twin Peaks working, and and there's like certain people are gonna come out of the woodwork, and they're probably gonna re-engage his mind and jumpstart him or some degree, and it's just like, oh, it's gonna kind of, and then I get kind of where it's going, but it's just like, holy fuck, really? And I'm like, we got how many fucking more episodes of this? Like, okay. Like, we could end this tomorrow. Nah, we're going to drag it out.
Let's just say you're going to have to find something new to complain about going forward if we don't want all of these episodes to sound the same.
Well, I mean, I'm complaining. It's going to be how it is.
I mean, yeah, I can't, I'm not going to say too much. We've got plenty of time to talk about it later.
Do we?
We do.
Die. I have to get it all out now. I could die tomorrow. I just want you to know.
We might have to have like an Ian rage meter.
It's
like
not
an
rage.
Ian versus Dougie.
No, I have other things. I have other things I want to talk about in this episode, but I just feel like, man, we've literally had 20 interactions with this same Dougie, and we're gonna have more. Like, can we like cut this up a little bit and cut around to something else? And I just don't understand the pacing and choice here to like just one after the other dialogue. It's just like, holy fuck. Okay, I get it. Anyway. Fuck you, Dwayne Denham.
Anyway.
I think you could have cut this better. You probably wanted to,
Let's
too.
blame Dwayne,
I would love to have a talk with that guy, because I actually bet he would probably cut it differently than this is what Lynch wanted. Anyway.
Could be. Although Lynch is known for his collaborative spirit, so.
Oh, I would hope so, but I don't see it.
No.
Anyway. Yes.
Anyway. Holy shit, more guest stars. This one is fucking Richard Chamberlain, folks.
That's low rent Indiana Jones, for those who don't know. Was it Alan Quartermain?
Come on. That's what you're going to throw out there? You're not going to throw out that he was the OG engine?
I'm not even going to go there.
Shogun.
I get you.
The original Shogun,
dude,
people.
I mean, you know what's funny about this? You know what's funny about that is that today an article came out on the interwebs about the original director of the original series talking about the new series. It's kind of wild. I recommend everyone go read it. It is not flattering. It's very like... Anyway, go read it.
I've seen both, although I haven't seen the original for a long time.
It doesn't matter which one's better or good or whatever. It's just like the comments that this dude made is kind of like, are you fucking serious? It's wild.
Like he comes across as bitter.
Yeah, kind of. You should read it. It's fun.
Fair enough.
But yes, Richard Chamberlain. Yes, he was in the original. Yes. I remember him eating the fish. I mean, as a kid, I saw this as a kid. I remember eating the raw fish. Anyway, and so my whole life, as I growing up, I thought that's what sushi was. Which it is technically, but like, not.
I mean, not quite like that.
Right.
The scene I remember the most, and we watched this in high school as part of like an Asian studies unit, was when the samurai pisses on his back.
Well, we'll get some piss in this episode too, so let's just keep going.
We do. All over the goddamn bathroom from the sounds of it. Jesus Christ. But anyway, Richard Chamberlain is here to guide Gordon Cole into the office of the FBI Chief of Staff. He tells Cole that she'll be along to see him as soon as she finishes her current meeting. Cole calls the admin assistant Bill. Another Bill. That's 3 for those of you keeping track. And he makes small talk about Martha and Paul, who is apparently now stationed at the North Pole due to some slight he visited upon Martha, it would seem. But Bill and Cole are both happy about this development. There you go! Bill guides Gordon to a chair and exits, leaving him to wait a moment alone while he stares at a bouquet of roses with a single white lily in the center, sitting in the seat next to him.
I have a question. This has nothing. Yes. It has nothing to do with this, but this has to do with like as a larger picture of this series. Who is the lady? Okay, I feel bad because I can't remember her name right now. Who is that Cooper was always dictating to?
Diane.
Do we ever meet her? In this,
I'm not going to spoil that.
Oh, okay. Because we're in this like office that supposedly is. I was just curious if we were going to come into that now. Not now. I know what happens in this episode, but like I was just like, are we ever going to get that? Anyway, all right. If you're not gonna tell me, then
Yeah.
yes. No. Just kidding.
There's been stuff that I haven't told you that there's no's
I
to.
know, I know.
But you don't know that they're no's yet.
Let's carry on to this crazy scene. Okay.
This crazy scene, is it crazy or is it unnecessary?
Oh, I know why it's necessary. It's just very crazy that
I don't
Lynch
know why it's
decided to do it.
necessary, so I'll let you explain
Oh,
it
okay.
to me. But sorry, I'm continuously adjusting this camera, folks. My notes are a little crooked and it's driving me nuts.
If only you had a tripod.
Just set up, Ian. Anyway, the chief of staff arrives, and it's our old friend Denise Bryson. Hey, we're happy to see her. Before we go any further, we'd just like to say that here at Blank is Apart, we believe that trans rights are human rights, and if you disagree, you can fuck all the way off. We're not here to debate it. It's not up for debate. The human beings fucking treat them like it. Gordon is there to fill her in on the recent developments in the Cooper case, but it seems like she's already aware of the pertinent info. She questions the wisdom in his choice to take Agent Preston along for the ride, hinting that his interest in her may be more personal than professional. That's kind of bullshit. Gordon defends his record of advocating for young women in the Bureau, Denise included, and she relents, admitting that she knows he's right about Agent Preston having, quote, the stuff. After confirming that Albert will be along on the journey as well, Denise sends Gordon on his way, wishing him luck.
Okay. So yeah, I found
Your
this scene.
take first.
So this scene is wild. I mean, it's cool seeing Denise. I agree. It's, she's the lead, and they're talking about this stuff. But the conversation that they engage with is wild. I mean, not on the end side where he's defending women.
No, not that.
But the fact that he's kind of blackmailing her at the sort of the beginning, but that.
Yeah,
so
I got all the
she's
dirt on you to fill the Grand Canyon. Yeah.
Okay, so there's that part. But so initially Denise is saying that, this woman is, I know how you are with women. And I think that's actually saying, that's not necessarily pointing at Gordon. That's pointing at David Lynch for all the other shit, kind of how he is. Because he even says, well, you know me, I'm old school. So, like, he built a scene into the show explaining away the way he is in his kind of sexist views of women. And let me tell you, the rest of what you see of her, of the other eight, what's her name? Rachel?
Tammy.
Tammy.
Tammy Preston.
Tammy Preston. I mean, they still play her up, and like the way she over exaggerates her fucking walk, like her sex walk is like wild. I mean, he's still full on. I don't know if anyone ever made comments, and that's why he chose to do this. But then, so Denise accuses him of this, and then he says I'm old school, and they kind of get into a little tiff, and then he starts blackmailing her. It's like, what the fuck are we watching? Like, anyway. It's kind of wild. David Duchovny in this scene looks not as comfortable in this scene as he did in previous episodes back in the day. There's a bit of awkwardness in this scene. He's like Lynch is on his he's dialed in as Gordon. I mean Lynch really wants to be in the show. He's like really like.
It's his playground, yeah.
He's like, oh, I'm doing this. I fuck it,
know.
Like he's like,
yeah. He doesn't just want to watch the other kids in the sandbox.
This is like his fucking episode. But Duchovny just the shit he's given to say, and he looks awkward, and I don't know. It doesn't have that same self-assuredness like he had in the other episodes that I would think he should have as the FBI. Anyway, it's just a really awkward scene, and I feel like it was just put in there to like, well, you can have your rights, but I'm old school, so I get to have my rights too. It's kind of how I felt, and I was just like, what is this? What's happening right now? I felt it's very awkward and weird to me, and I'm not sure if it definitely wasn't really necessary, but I don't know. It felt a little dirty.
Yeah, there's a lot of arguments to be made that a lot of Lynch's dialogue or writing is just a meta commentary on critics or supporters of his. there was something I read about this episode that I forgot to write down, but something about how like somebody who was begging Lynch to come back and do more work because like he hadn't done anything since Inland Empire before this came out. So like this was 2011, somebody published this article about wanting Lynch back, full Lynch back, and like referenced a Tom Petty song in this essay of his.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't remember if it's this episode or the one previous, but like there's supposedly a couple of Tom Petty references
Mm.
within the episode. And I read a tangent where it's wondered aloud, yeah, is this Lynch nodding to his fans saying like, "Hey, I hear you. Here I am. Here's what you asked for." I feel bad about not writing that down because that would be a really good talking point. If I remember right, I gleaned it off of an Entertainment Weekly review or something like that.
Hmm.
So I'll try and research that for the next episode.
Anyway, I just felt like this was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah. So
Ultimately.
my take on it is, yes, David Duchovny felt less genuine in the role here than he did in the original series. And I think a large part of that is that Denise was a Mark Frost character who was written by Mark Frost specifically for a friend of his. Like, remember, Duchovny was the second choice for this role. But he did play it very naturally in the beginning, and he played it like very realistically. Like he was, excuse me, Denise, felt like one of the more genuine aspects of this crazy world of Twin Peaks. I mean, notwithstanding the fact that she was transgender, she was logical, she was well reasoned, she spoke intelligently. She wasn't like a Lucy or an Andy, or, she was a relatively sane touchstone in a pretty crazy world, aside from
I mean,
one major difference.
I mean, that's fine, but like, if as you
But yeah,
continue on
it's
in this
just,
episode, there's some weird ass characters in this episode that is still like, it's still very Lynchian. In
yeah,
I don't,
like this whole
I'm not
scene
gonna say
feels.
that. I mean, I wouldn't think that like Lynch would have a problem with this character. I just think like,
And I don't think he does. I just don't think he knows what to do
do we
with
ever
her.
come back to Denise? Or is this it?
No,
No,
this
so
is it.
this is like the one
One and done.
cameo, the one in. It's also very
And so
weird.
that
It's also very
it
weird. Like
feels it feels very shoehorned.
at the very end too, when after the conversation's over, like Denise does this kind of like was
Yeah, the
she
hot flashes.
like what the fuck? It's like
It's an implication of menopause.
I get it, but
Yeah.
like what? What? I don't know. That just seems very. Anyway,
It's a weird scene. I mean, as much as I loved David Duchovny in the role originally, it doesn't feel right here. It feels forced, which is a shame because Denise was such a great character in the beginning. And I'm glad, like they give Denise something positive. Like Denise saw advancement in her chosen field, which is a great thing. But again, it feels like her presence here is unnecessary, and it was just a way
well, it's
to
like
get the character back
well, it
in.
also feels like as I was saying earlier, it feels like it's sounding board versus sounding board. It's like
Yeah.
and it's like wow, do we really need to do that in this right
It, it,
now?
it feels yeah, it feels like this was a writer's room compromise. It feels like Mark Frost was like 100% Denise is coming back. Don't care what you say, we've
Well,
got to work her in.
I want to defend my message. Chicks can be naked and be hot. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna fucking eagle
Well, yeah,
eye.
let's have the old school guy
Okay, well, if
defend
I'm gonna do that, I'm
chauvinism in the
gonna
face
fucking
of a
blackmail you.
transgender woman.
It's just
Yeah.
like fucking wild. It's like, no,
Yeah.
this is not the conversation we should be having. This is 100% not the conversation we should be having. Anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, it's as glad as I am to see Denise in the series. I had hoped for better for her than just this.
Could have done it so much better. I don't know. I
Could
just
have, yeah.
and that makes you think
And it
like
just,
is David Lynch kind of a dick?
I mean, I kind of wonder now, do we ever see the two of them together in the same shot? Or are all of those interactions over the shoulder?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you've seen it more than I have at this point.
I mean, he directed every episode, so there's no way they couldn't have been on set at the same time.
Right. That makes
But
sense.
yeah, I mean, and I'd have to go back and look to see who it was that directed the episodes that Duchovny was in originally. But But yeah, it's a lot of it is in the pacing of this scene. It just feels very stilted and awkward, and with no background noise or just complete silence other than the dialogue, I think adds to the awkwardness of it. So, I mean, not even like a murmur of outside conversation or some kind of undertone of sound. It's just them in a very quiet room. So anyway, we'll move on to the sheriff's station.
This is another fuck me show. This is another fuck me sequence, dude. It's like, anyway.
Lucy is on the phone with Sheriff Truman, making comments about a faulty thermostat and wondering if the sheriff is still out fishing, as she seems to think she can hear a really loud stream. Eventually, Sheriff Truman walks in the front door. Now, this is Sheriff Frank Truman, Harry's older brother, played by Robert Forster. Fun fact, Robert Forster was Lynch's original choice for Harry Truman.
Oh, that's fun.
It's not that he turned him down. Scheduling conflicts prevented him from being able to take the role. He's holding his cell phone up in plain view in his right hand, but that doesn't stop his sudden appearance from terrifying Lucy and causing her to scream and fall backwards in her chair. Apparently, Lucy, after 25 odd years, still has not grasped the concept of mobile phones.
Yeah, right? It's wild.
Pretty wild indeed.
I'm actually was like, oh, Robert For. I'm a huge Robert Forster fan. So, I mean, he's awesome in Jackie Brown. I mean,
he is, yeah.
Anyway,
and for what I mean, he is just kind of here to be world weary. Like he takes everything the same way, whether it's Lucy or whether it's Wally Brando or whether it's a lot of other weird shit he's going to see later.
He's playing Ian Southworth in this world. Like he's just like.
No, he doesn't rant nearly as much.
He doesn't rant, but he rants with his eyes.
Yes,
like during that. Anyway, we'll get to it in a second. But like during this certain monologue that happens at the end of this whole massive sequence, like Ian is ranting in his eyes.
and in his voice.
And you can read it. You can see it. Anyway.
In his eyes and his mouth. Anyway. Andy rushes to Lucy's aid as the sheriff matter-of-factly explains that he couldn't keep bullshitting her in the parking lot. He's got shit to do. I'm putting it far more crudely than he did. Frank is really polite guy, by and large. But yeah, you can tell that he doesn't have a lot of patience for Lucy's crap. First stop on the sheriff's list is a room we've never seen before.
I know. It's where all the cops are, apparently.
Right? Yeah.
It's just like so
the dispatch area and like the deputy's office and desks and like coat hangers.
What the fuck is this? It's like a whole like surveillance team in here. What's going on?
It's like a fucking real sheriff's station. And not just some Hollywood studio set.
And there's like technology, and I was like, what are we doing?
Like computers.
What are we doing
computers
right now?
In the sheriff's station? Where the hell are we?
What are we doing right now? What is happening?
South Dakota? Truman greets the woman operating the dispatch station. Her name is Maggie. And he inquires about the evening's activities. It's been a quiet night so far. The worst thing she brings up is a DUI, which a deputy across the room takes credit for catching. Can already tell he's a tool. She then brings up an overdose death at the high school, giving a name that Truman recognizes. What was it, Denny? Little Denny?
Something like that.
Frank acknowledges the CSI team before heading to the conference room to find Hawk in the hallway. No. Or no, to find Hawk.
No. Oh.
Excuse me. Punctuation was bad here. He's going to the conference room to find Hawk.
Got you.
But while he's in the hallway, he catches up to a gray-haired deputy from behind and calls out his name. Bobby!
I was like, oh, shit. That's fun.
Yeah, that's right, gang. 25 years later, Bobby Briggs is on the side of law and order.
How did that happen?
I mean,
we'll never know.
Let's not forget. I think it's pretty easy.
Is it?
His dad was a military guy, And late in his teen years, Bobby found inspiration in his relationship with his father, who, as we learn momentarily, suffered an unbecoming fate. But
I don't think that's it. I think the story here is that a couple years later, his
we'll
best friend Logan was found dead by massive spider bites, and he was like, "Those spiders were planted."
Logan.
Or not Logan. What is it? Leo. Leo,
who tried to kill him.
Yeah, but like they were friends.
They were not friends.
I mean, he offered
they were never friends.
Offered up his girlfriend to him, and
no, he didn't.
Basically,
he was sneaking around.
Basically,
with his girlfriend.
Basically, offered up
behind his back.
Basically,
what fucking show did you watch, dude?
I'm creating a new show.
Are you trolling now?
They were all connected.
Leon.
I think I said Leon.
That's not even what you called him.
I think I said
Logan. Yeah, even further away.
Leo.
Logan.
Right. Leo. Something like that. It starts with an L. Loser. I could have called
Bobby's friend was Mike, for the record. That was the only friend Bobby
does Mike
had.
ever come back?
He does. I don't mind spoiling that one for you.
Yeah. Still fucking, what's her name? No Nadine. I mean, I know Nadine comes back, but like, are they fucking?
Oh, she came to her senses before the end of the original series. Remember?
Maybe they rekindle a love.
They run into each other at the supermarket 5 years later.
Anyway.
Yes, so Bobby. Yeah.
He acts pretty good here, actually, in this first sequence. I thought, I was like, oh, he's taking some, and then as the sequence, anyway.
Honestly, Bobby is one of my favorite parts of The Return.
Oh my God. What?
He gets some meat on the bone on his role. And it's good to see him dig in.
I like the gray hair.
It's becoming, yeah. He looks mature. Mature, but not old by any means, because I'm guessing he's not a whole lot older than I am. But yeah, he looks good. Anyway, Truman mentions to him the latest overdose death. Apparently, one of Bobby's gigs is watching the trail cams for drug smuggling. He lets the sheriff know that he's seen nothing unusual so far, just a lot of wildlife, and quickly excuses himself to use the restroom.
Okay, hold on a second. This is important.
Yeah.
This joke he uses, I heard throughout my life. But he says
back teeth are floating.
My back teeth are floating. My dad always used to see it. I got to pee so bad my molars are floating. So like that's how my dad used to say it.
I heard it as back teeth growing up. So that's interesting. I mean, I also called them sodas.
Sodas?
And subs.
Oh.
Well, no, I guess they were pop.
I called my dad Pop, and I just say like Coke, or I would just call it by the brand I wanted.
Oh. You would never have just a generic. Yeah. Rather than hoagies or grinders.
I would call it subs.
That's what I would call it too.
Because you had Subway everywhere, so I just like Subway. I don't know.
Yeah.
Subs.
Amusing interlude where Andy again attempts to explain mobile phones to Lucy. Seems like it's a repeated occurrence in their lives as Andy gets up to go see Sheriff Truman. Oh, God, again, bad. I forgot to go through and edit the grammar here, so forgive me if I run on a little bit in my pronunciations here, folks. As Andy gets up to go see Sheriff Truman, we can see a family Christmas photo on the desk behind Lucy. It's a fucking terrible Photoshop job, like fucking worst I've ever seen. Like, how could you get that shit and think, good enough? Like, even out of focus, you can tell how shit that is. It's like somebody physically could have found better pictures. And yeah. Anyway.
I'm sorry you're so offended by it.
It bugged me. It really did.
There's some other stuff coming up. There's
some
other stuff that comes up editing wise that offends me greatly that I will bring up later. So just be ready.
Well,
don't feel too bad about it.
Yeah, we got the Zara bun. Yeah, this episode wasn't as fun as the last one. What can we say? Wasn't anywhere near as weird.
Whoa. The last one was weird, but it was still like not as fun. I don't know.
Weird is fun to me.
Oh, well, there you go. Okay.
Like the weirder it gets, the more fun I have. So, yeah, the last episode was the most fun I've had so far during the return.
Gotcha.
And it's not the weirdest episode. Like I know which the weirdest.
I'm sure it's not going to.
Yeah. No, I know which one that is, and we'll get there. It really does feel like the peak of the series to me. So, anyway, the braggart deputy we met earlier lets himself into the conference room as Hawk is filling in the sheriff on Margaret's latest riddle regarding Cooper. The deputy's personality becomes apparent as he lets out a weary sigh when Andy and Lucy enter the room. He then proceeds to make snide comments about the log lady's mental health before the sheriff offers a wary admonition of his own. That's enough, Chad. That's a sentence we'll be saying a lot of.
I'm with you, Chad.
Series.
I feel it. I was right there with you. Like I'm sitting in that room. It's
fuck you, man.
I'm like, it's not only were they ever weird, but like I feel like the weird has been magnified a million times, and it's just like,
that's true. Yeah.
What?
Which we'll see more of
it's
shortly.
Like, I don't know. I just feel like I feel like now Lucy and Andy are playing characters of themselves, and it's just like
kind of like Denise. Yeah, Denise felt a little bit more
and
like a caricature.
Like, dude, just ground them a little bit. They're not this stupid. Like, but clearly they're playing them for just straight up stupid motherfuckers, and it's just like, I feel you, Chad, and I get your name's Chad, and I don't really like the way you look and the way you're acting, but I feel it. Like, I don't know.
Fair play.
And even Hawk. I mean, Hawk's fine. I love Hawk. But I just they never give Hawk enough agency. He's just kind of he's again, unfortunately, this Native American dude has to answer to some white motherfucker, and it's just like, at what point can he just be the dude? Like, okay, so Truman couldn't fucking do it. Just make fucking Hawk the sheriff. It's like, it's just, some of this shit just drives me fucking maddening. It's like, let's just move on with some of this shit. Is this show that fucking progressive? I don't see it right now. Not in this, like, back then, maybe. But like here, especially in this episode, it's so kind of anti-progressive with that Denise scene, and now with this, it's just. So I'll let you know, Gabe, I watched this fucking completely sober. I drank after it. So
no shit, you're so angry.
No, I just watched it, and I'm just being like, at this point, I'm just like,
that's the problem.
I'm just like really kind of like, this used to be kind of a bastion of what, of creating something that was new and moving. This show is so like trying to move forward, but it is so with his line, I'm an old timer. It's like, no shit, motherfucker. Because clearly when you look at this next scene and just how, like, you have to have all the white people dictate, it's endlessly frustrating, and I think it could have been endlessly more entertaining. Like, sure, okay, Truman didn't want, the guy who played, what's his name? I forget his name. The original actor, the Truman.
Michael Unkean.
He didn't want to return.
No,
I think
he stayed retired.
That's great. I think that's a perfect opportunity to make Hawk the fucking sheriff. Instead, you do this whole other thing that is just whatever. It's fine. I'm sure it works in the story. Maybe it doesn't work at all. Maybe it just has no real point to it at all. But I just think giving you kind of like, I would have. Anyway, I just feel like a massively missed opportunity here as a fan of Hawk, and that he's still just in his same state. He never moved up ever. That's just like
deputy chief. So he's technically advanced a
of
rank.
The group of people in that room that we had never seen before. Awesome. Anyway,
so here's something I'll let you know.
As a part Native American, I'm gonna be like, fuck that shit, white man.
There is supplemental material, specifically Twin Peaks: The Final Dossier.
Supplemental, not. Okay, that's fine. Okay,
supplemental material written by Mark Frost explains that when Harry took his leave. Frank was only set to replace him for 2 years, after which point Hawk would replace him as sheriff. So there's no indication during the series how long into that 2-year stretch Frank is at this point. But like, I mean, and as we see in the first couple of episodes,
when you have
Hawk,
to
Hawk is sheriff in all but name at
when
this
you have
point.
to preface supplemental material, like of the handful of people that love Twin Peaks, what is the handful of people that read the supplemental material? Like, you know, not everyone. Like, there's people that like Twin Peaks but are never gonna touch that shit. They don't know that. It's fine. This scene was maddening to me. I mean, the last two. I mean, I was okay with You're right. The last episode was more fun. It was just weird for weird's sake, just artsy, weird craziness. Like maybe you get tired of it, maybe you don't. This one is just like from a storytelling perspective. It's just like, man, we could have made some better choices. I think, guys, but no. Like, because he's an old timer and he's set in his ways and he wants to do his thing his way. And I think it's like, that's fine. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm done ranting. I'm going to keep ranting, but not. Anyway, I'll move on to the next topic that I have. But, man, I love you, Hawk, and I wish you had more agency. I wish you were the hero of this story. I think you should have been the hero of this story.
I mean, I'll let you have that one because you were defending Hawk with that rant. So I am with you 100%. I would advocate for giving Hawk more time, more lines.
He's a good actor, too. He's a great fucking actor.
And he doesn't take a lot of roles. So anyway, I did have a little bit more summary before you got off on that.
Well, what Bobby has to cry, quote unquote.
Oh, God, yeah, we've got more of that. There's like a whole other paragraph. But Chad continues to mock Andy and Lucy when they rise to the log lady's defense. The sheriff dismisses him with a curt, "Good night, Chad." So, you know, as little patience as Frank has for Lucy, you can tell he has less for Chad because it's pretty obvious that Chad is a fucking douche.
Yeah, but the problem is also like he agrees with Chad, so he has to get him out of the room. There's too much of that going around, so he's got to like get him out. It's like, I get it. Go. I don't need your side of it, bro. Dude, bro. Go play some Call of Duty.
Go play some. Bobby enters the room, seeing the picture of Laura Palmer on display on the table. He is suddenly overcome by a wave of powerful nostalgia and bursts into tears.
Powerful bad acting, I believe, is what we're calling it.
I did read commentary I did read like a theory that this was, again, meta commentary for Bobby's penchant for melodrama in the original series. Like during the funeral scene or barking in the prison, for example.
Okay.
So
interesting.
I mean, honestly,
it
was fine for me.
It's fine. It was fine. I mean, I thought it was a little believable. It was a little melodramatic. It was a little over. It was like it seemed a little forced, but whatever.
But I've been there. Like, I mean, yeah. Particularly, like, let's say, you know, one of the things Bobby found out about himself over the last 25 years is that he has depression. You know, one of those things that you deal with in depression is sudden and inexplicable bursts of sadness from random triggers. So, yeah, as someone who's suffered from depression, I can absolutely see this being very real and just very, like, guttural and just like almost animal response.
No, I get it.
To what would have been a very traumatic time in Bobby's life. I mean, he fucking killed a guy.
Sure, no, I mean, I get that 100%. So, I mean, I can relate to that trauma, and I mean, I've been
like if that was something I buried for 20 years, and then I saw that girl's face. Yeah, that's definitely the first thing that would come to my brain.
I have that
like, oh my god,
too,
I fucking killed a guy with that.
You know, we're just two depressed dudes doing a podcast. Just, you know, two depressed white guys. Anyway, I'm half white, but
I'm full white.
No, I mean I know what you're talking about,
100%
and I
monkey
think,
over
but
here.
I think because part of that is that I know what that's like. It did come across a little like it's fine. It is what it is. He did the best he could. I just don't think he's in that place, and I think they decided not to spend that much time on it. I think this. I think
I
all
you
of
know I
these.
thought
I think all
that they
these.
came back to it later in the scene. Like he composes himself here, but then he loses it again later,
It's just.
which I thought was wild. But yeah, it was, to me, this was very believable, and this
Okay, all
was
right. If
it
you
was
bought
not
it,
only a display. I thought it was a display of like how far he's come as an actor over the years. That's my take on it.
I was giving him so
I
much
understand.
benefit, and I just then it didn't quite work on me. But
Well, like I said, Bobby gets plenty to work with
well,
later in the
that's
series.
exciting. I
So
mean, I'm not
yeah, I
against
don't feel
that.
bad about spoiling that for you. But
That's fine.
he's definitely one of my highlights is watching him work. So
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
um so yeah, once he composes himself, it's exposition time. Bobby helps us draw some lines from the past to the present. Bobby's father, Major Briggs, whose head we saw last episode, uh, purportedly died in a fire at his Air Force station in the local woods the day after he was visited at home by Cooper.
Yeah, we get a lot of
They don't really,
exposition.
yeah, they don't really tell it to you here, but this is like literally days after Mr. C took over. So
Oh, I
this
see what you're
was,
saying.
yeah, Major Briggs died many, many, many years ago.
So basically, Coop
Uh,
disappears, and Mr. C comes back and kills Major Briggs. Is that what we're?
well, what we know is that when Coop returns from the lodge a few days later, Coop visits Major Briggs at home. And the next day, Major Briggs's station in the forest burns down, reportedly with him inside of it.
So here's the difficult thing.
Briggs is declared dead as a result of the fire.
So here's the crazy thing that I'm still wrestling with, and so like at the end of Fire Walk with Me, it's what's his name inside Coop?
Bob.
Bob. But
Well, at the
then,
end of the original series,
or at the
yes.
end of the original series, but then the doppelganger took over, and Bob is not there because in that phone call, reunite you with Bob. Like I'm still confused as to is if Cooper's the doppelganger, is Bob in the doppelganger too, or is Bob somewhere else?
Some of that gets explained later,
But none
so
of
I
it.
won't explain it here.
10% gets explained, but 90% you're never gonna know. Is that
I
what you're
would say
saying?
enough to satisfy what you're asking.
Okay, because this is
I
it's
would
just
say I would say wait and see on
all
that
right.
one.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Hmm.
I'll get kind of an answer.
Yeah.
Here's your number. Go back to
So
the end of the
anyway,
line. All right, thank you.
yeah, Cooper's visit with Major Briggs was the last time he was seen in the vicinity of Twin Peaks,
Okay,
and this was many, many years ago.
25.
Oh, okay, everybody, brace for another Ian rant. Another deputy enters the room to let the sheriff know that a man named Wally Brando is waiting outside.
I actually don't have a rant
You
for
know what?
this. I don't have a rant for
You
this.
don't.
No.
Okay, all right. Then I'll finish this scene before I mix myself another drink.
Wait, can I say?
Andy and
Can I? Can
Lucy.
I? I will say. I will give this. I know you teased on the writing on Facebook and Instagram Wally Brando, and then when I saw Wally Brando, I got the whole Brando thing. But my initial thought was Wally Brando. This just is Wally James, and that's all. That's what I just saw. I just saw the poor acting of James as a young man trying
Oh,
to.
okay.
Yeah, I just saw James. I mean, I get the Brando thing, but I just saw James. So Wally
James with a
James.
lisp.
Anyway, our boy James.
Yeah,
That's what I saw. Anyway, go ahead.
not quite. This is the prototype that came decades before
Oh, I
James.
get it,
Yeah.
but that's what I saw.
Uh, Andy and Lucy both exclaim in unison, "Wally! Wally's here!" and immediately rush outside. Wally, as we learned a couple of episodes ago, is Andy and Lucy's son, who was born on the same day as Marlon Brando. Apparently, sharing a birthday has led him to being the reincarnation of Brando himself, or at least one of his characters, or at least as good an impression as Michael Cera can pull off. Yep, another guest star, folks. Um, so here are my notes.
Is this the only time
I
we
can
see him?
off. Yes, another one I don't
Oh.
feel bad spoiling. There are so many one and done cameos in this episode.
This was
Ethan
brutal.
Suplee is a one and done. Richard Chamberlain is a one and done. David Duchovny is a one and done. Thankfully, Wally Brando is one and
It
done.
is so brutal. And I love
So yeah,
Robert For anyway.
yeah,
I want to say Mark Forrester. I don't know why.
Mark Forster. Mark Frost. Yeah, you were going for Mark Frost there.
No,
Anyway,
Mark Forrester as the writer, but Robert. Yeah.
anyway. So here are my notes. I can offer no explanation or defense for this scene.
Oh, this is. Oh, I
This
can.
this is really just self-indulgent comedic relief.
No.
Uh,
This
I
is
just,
this is
the
this
only
is this is David Lynch. This is his childhood. This is the archetype motorcycle thing. That's all of that. This is that romantic ideal that David Lynch has about being this guy who's pretentious and motorcycle. You see motorcycles and leather jacket dudes in almost all his shit. This is the prototypical.
yeah, I think they're cool too. I grew up in the 80s. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
no, that's fine, but this is that, and that's in this character is in all his shit.
But why? Yeah, but not like this.
Maybe
Not as
not like this,
flagrantly.
but
So why Wally?
you're
Why?
talking these two comedic characters, and there's this comedic version. So like, sure, but like, also because he spends so much time on it, and this is a crazy monologue. I'd be curious if like Sarah did it in one take. I would love to know if he was able to do it in one take, because it's obviously they cut back to Truman, but like I'd still be curious if like if it was done in one take, because Sarah's a good actor.
Yeah, I mean, depending on what you're looking
but
for
he's a good actor.
from him in this. Yeah, like what I come to is like this. Just it feels like to me like Sarah ran into Lynch at a Hollywood party, and they were both drunk or high, and somehow Sarah ended up doing his Brando impression for Lynch.
I think if
And
it was
Lynch thought
that
it was
much comedy,
hysterical.
though, he wouldn't have spent that much time on it. This is such a massive scene, and he is trying to relay so much kind of who he is in it, even in this really pretentious fucking way. I think this is just visionary, pretentious director putting himself in this scene. Yeah, it's comedic, but at a certain point, it just becomes painful. Like, there's just a lot of Lynch in this episode. Like a lot of other like everyone talks about the weird Lynch. There's a lot of real Lynch in this episode. Like his sexist, his ideal man, his old man, and his vision. Like he's really reckoning in this episode with who he is.
Mm-hmm.
To varying degrees. And while I am like looking at this and be like, holy fuck, this is painful, and you kind of laugh at the beginning, and you're like, holy shit, this is still happening. And the way that Truman is watching it, and his eyes are just like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Like, what the fuck am I watching? But he is the viewer. He's me. He's us. He's the regular Joe.
He's
us.
kind of like Tammy. He's an analog, or he's a proxy for the viewer,
And
like he's one of those people who just has to deal. And to a lesser degree, Hawk is as well, because you can see that same kind
Sure.
of weariness in Hawk's interactions with like Andy and Lucy in particular.
I have a question though.
But
like, I don't know. I don't know much about Lynch's past or what his parents are like. Are his parents anything like Andy and Lucy?
it's very possible.
Because I would like to think that those are his hippie, weird ass dumbass fucking parents, and this is the young Lynch. This cool dude smoking cigarettes, riding his bike, all this shit. And then
Right.
if you look
His
at the
parents
show,
love him and he loves his parents, but they're so very different from each other.
like the wheels touching the road, but they're cycles, like this is just because he keeps
This episode is Lynch's autobiography, folks.
kind of.
Right
Well,
here.
I think the whole show, a lot of all his shit is his autobiography, but like this one is really trying to like that cycle of him being this cycle. Because then we'll get to it in the later episodes, but there's definitely that's definitely what I thought. Like this is just little Lynch, man, being so Brando, whatever, but like this character is so archetypal for his fucking shit. Regardless if it's funny, like you think it's funny because he's a kid, he's a young dude, so he's coming across pretentious and stupid, and that's why I thought James right away, and I just thought of like stupid James. But then that is also Lynch. This is how Lynch likes to see himself, as this. In my opinion, that's how I like to think Lynch sees himself, as this dude. Or he's always romanticized this dude in all his stuff. What did Nick Cage play? If you look, you haven't seen Lost Highway, or if you have, but like Balthazar Getty plays that character. I mean, it's so much. This is like the very infant, very small, youngest version of that, and that's what I took from it. But it's just like, man, it's rough. It's funny. It's funny.
But it feels self-indulgent, but at the same time I can only imagine how much fun they had shooting the
sure.
scene. Like this might have been like,
but he's never
Michael
changed
Cera's
either.
favorite day.
He still makes those wildly grand quotes. He might be cooler about it. He's older, he's aged, he's got the accolades to like kind of back him up, but he's still that kid.
Still that kid. So anyway, long story short, Wally is in town to allow his parents to convert his childhood room into a study, and also to pay respects to Frank and his younger brother Harry, who is Wally's godfather. Frank thanks Wally for his kindness before heading inside, after some profound words, which Wally appreciates, and Andy and Lucy fawn proudly over their son. All right, so I need to fix myself another drink. Do you want to find something else to rant about, or do you need to take a piss?
I can go take a piss. But just
I'll let you decide.
I'll take a piss. I need more room for beer. Come on. All right, listeners, we're going to take a quick little break. It'll be like a couple minutes, like a minute or two.
Couple minutes.
Quick.
Yeah. Apologies for the unannounced interruption, but you know how we are.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. 555-4444. All right. Well, we'll keep the content going verbally. For those of you who missed it last week, we're going to do Gabe's super special Manhattan recipe. All right. Step one is you fill your mixing box with ice. And actually, step 1B is put ice in your serving glass if you want it on the rocks. All right. Ooh. I have dropped my pretty string in the ice cube tray. How the hell did I do that? All right. Your number one ingredient is whiskey. Typically, Manhattans are made with a rye. I am working tonight with bullet rye. And you want 2 parts whiskey to 1 part vermouth. The brand of vermouth I am using this evening is Martini and Rossi. Make sure that is sweet vermouth, not dry. All right, dear listeners and viewers, Gabe's super, super secret ingredient for his special Manhattan recipe is Fee Brothers Black Walnut Bitters. I am generous with my dashes of the bitters. All right. Once you've got your ingredients, you stir thoroughly.
Very thoroughly.
Very thoroughly indeed.
You almost need to just
And then
pivot the camera over to the kitchen so they can just watch you do
mm,
this when you're doing it.
it is not suitable for viewers at the time.
Oh, he's not wearing pants, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right. Balls out, everyone. And then you strain your drink into your preferred serving glass. Typically, Manhattans are served up in a martini glass with no ice. I like mine low with a, what do you call these?
He likes it as a double in a pint glass.
It's a 1.5-er.
It's a 1.5.
But yeah, I serve mine low in the low ball glass on one big rock. I like the big cube ice cubes. Garnish with the cherry. The brand I am using today is Peninsula Premium Cocktail Cherries. And that's a Manhattan, folks.
Hopefully, you didn't cut off your finger in the process.
There's no peeling involved, so we're all good.
Hey, that's
Hey,
all. That's all
something
just
else.
staying in. You know, that's just cocktail. That's cocktail minute with Gabe.
Cocktail time. That means I'll have to drink the old fashioned next week so I can show everybody how to make one of those.
This episode brought to you by Manhattan. It's a drink. Drink it.
And an island.
And an island. And a project.
And a Watchman.
Oh, mister.
All right, we're back at Dougie's house where he's seated at the foot of the bed, staring uncomprehendingly at his clothes. The previous Dougie had truly awful fashion sense. Jesus Christ, look at that lime green sport coat.
I like it.
Meanwhile, Philip Gerard wanders around one of the empty red drape rooms in the lodge. Dougie stares at a red chair in the corner of his bedroom, which causes the veil between worlds to briefly drop and allows him to see Philip reaching out to communicate. Philip is speaking to Cooper now, as he lets him know that he's been tricked and that, quote, one of you, meaning either him or the doppelganger, is going to have to die.
There can be only
As
one.
Philip,
It's Highlander time, baby.
this voice to text reads as Philip feeds from you, but I believe that means as Philip fades from view. Dougie begins to do the pee-pee dance before his long-suffering wife enters and guides him into the bathroom, admonishing him for being, quote, worse than Sonny Jim.
Not after this one. Oh, yes, after this one, for sure. Yeah. Sorry, my bad.
So after taking his first piss in 25 years and making a hell of a mess doing it, apparently, based on the sounds we hear, Cooper/Dougie finally catches a glimpse of himself in a mirror. There is a long and tense moment as we're all given an opportunity to remember what happened the last time we saw Cooper look in a mirror.
Bob.
Yeah. Nothing so sinister happens this time as we quickly move to Dougie's wife, Janie E., dressing him without complaint, remarking on how he seems to have dropped several pounds in the last few days.
So that Horan.
Yeah. Jade gives 2 rides. She leaves Dougie to do the tie himself before heading downstairs to make breakfast.
We need a t-shirt.
And in the hallway,
Gabe, we need a blank as a
Jade
fart
gives 2
t-shirt,
rides.
and then on the back it says Jade gives
Jade
2
gives
rides.
2. In the hallway, Sonny Jim finally makes an appearance. He's a boy of about 10 years of age, sporting a red hoodie and jeans. He offers his father a big grin and a thumbs up, which Dougie happily, if slowly, returns. This earns a chuckle from the boy. More chuckles from the boy at the breakfast table as Dougie arrives wearing his tie over his ears. Sonny Jim also seems to sense something is off about his father, But like his mother, it doesn't appear to bother him. With obvious amusement, Sonny Jim teaches his father how to sit down at the breakfast table and eat pancakes to the strains of the Dave Brubeck Quartet. Meanwhile, Janie E makes lunches and runs other chores in the kitchen behind them. The jazz crescendos as the wife sets a mug of coffee in front of Dougie. Once again, we see that twinkle of recognition in Cooper slash Dougie's eyes as he reaches for the mug and quickly takes a large gulp, burning his mouth in the process and spitting it out on the floor.
Brings back memories.
Mm.
Hence the name of this episode, I believe, or something like to that effect.
I'm sure that's not accidental. Ooh, that one's a little stiff.
Oh,
folks.
he made a stiff one. He's not going to work tomorrow. Okay, I have more.
It's early yet.
I have more questions about this child. Is this the whose child is this? If a clone did fuck Jeannie A, what is her name?
Janie E.
Okay. If it did have sex with this clone, but it's still Coop's DNA, is it really Coop's son? Is that Coop's child spawn? Do we get to the bottom of that? Or is this just a plot thread that we just never tie up?
I mean,
we never tie it up. We have no idea.
You get more pieces to this puzzle,
but we never know for sure.
But I don't know that you ever get the whole picture.
It's like
this is one of those things where you're just kind of left to make your own judgments.
Coop, Mr. C didn't just pay these people off to like, listen, just play the family for this dude.
I mean, for all we know, they adopted.
Oh yeah.
Maybe Sonny Jim is a foster kid.
I was gonna say he looked to seem a little Native American. Maybe he's Hawk's child. You know. Anyway.
I don't see Hawk abandoning any child of his.
Well, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just curious.
Anyway.
I have no questions. I'm just curious. I'm always curious which ones you're going to answer and which ones you are going to avoid. You're gonna rope a dope. Like,
I mean, I try hard not to spoil the good surprises for you.
I know, it's fine. I know. I like getting the ones out that like, yeah, okay. There's a little meat on that bone.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to coffee.
I mean, as soon as she would pour it, I was like, and the scene does end in a very comedic way because it's like burning hot coffee, so he spits it out, but he's like in love with it. And it's just like, yes,
which,
classic.
If we'll remember, is the first time we saw Cooper drink coffee on camera. That's exactly what he did. Is he spit it out, but he was really happy about how good it was,
right?
And hot. Damn good coffee and hot. Let's go back to Buckhorn, South Dakota.
That's
where we're still trying to identify a headless John Doe. Remember Constance? She comes back for a hot minute as her computer has finally returned a hit on the fingerprints of the unidentified headless body. But the information is locked behind military authorization.
My favorite thing about this is that they all walk into there to by the computer, and he goes, "Do you know who by?" And she goes, like, "By the military." He's like, "Oh," and then it cuts to the fucking computer. It's like military, military. Like, it's like, oh my god, whoa!
It's just hilarious. Like, yeah,
it's so funny.
It's just, yeah. This is the fleeting moment for an episode like this. Like, we barely get 30 seconds with these people.
Oh, yeah, I almost forgot. I mean, like, last week we didn't get any of it, and then this week is like, oh, yeah, this shit's still going on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we come back to Bill Hastings. Don't forget about that guy.
Ruh-roh.
I have some fun talk about that in the post-show.
Oh, okay. As
part of the special features. Gordon, Tammy, and Albert have arrived at the airport where they're greeted by the local FBI agents. Gordon laments the fact that there's no view of Mount Rushmore from where they're at, and Albert amusingly produces a picture for him. Some vintage Gordon is deaf humor as he misunderstands car sick for Cossack, drawing a strong response from the famously cantankerous Albert that startles their driver.
Okay. Oh, also here, I will. There's some incredibly poor chroma key going on right here. In the initial shot of the back of the driver's head, you can see the poor chroma key around his head. I was actually kind of
This
surprised
is
that it was that
of the
bad.
green screen that fills in the windshield, is what you're referring
Yeah,
to? I'm not
like
sure what chroma key is.
yeah, yes, the green
Is that
screen.
like color
So
matching
the
essentially?
car isn't actually moving. It has like
Right.
it's all the
It's
way around.
stationary with, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like the chroma key or the green screen effect that's happening. Uh, Not to mention it looks different. It looks the same in the front windows, but the back window is wildly different. But around the driver's head and the it's like just like it's like flickering and like it looks like a Milkman Pictures production of like something I've done back in my independent days where it's just like, well, they could have cleaned that up a little bit. That doesn't look
Mhm.
too good. So like, you were talking about the bad Photoshop job. This is kind of some bad effects here, and that's not a hard thing to clean up, really. Like they could have cleaned that up, they just missed it, I think. Because like,
Yeah.
anyway,
Just another corner cut.
yeah, just like yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably just time. Ultimately, probably they did it and then just said fuck it. But
Yeah.
watching it, it's like, oh. Anyway,
Anyway, I think I've figured out what your other editing complaint is, and I had a comment about it. It doesn't seem, yeah, but we'll get there. Arriving at the prison, local PD fills them in on current events, explaining that they grabbed Mr. C when he crashed his car after vomiting up some kind of poisonous substance, which they are still analyzing. They mentioned that the patrolman who was exposed to it was hospitalized as a result.
that's wild,
Yeah,
disgusting.
disgusting but wild. They demonstrate the evidence that they found in Mr. C's trunk: a large amount of cocaine, a machine gun, and a severed dog's leg.
Which was like, what? And it's like, okay, that's just fucking Lynch being Lynch.
Yeah, could be.
Because I haven't, okay, unless it comes up later, but up until then, there's been nothing about dogs. So just
No, nothing at all. I mean, unless it's a obscure link back to Dead Dog Ranch
that's what,
from the
oh,
OG series.
Jesus. It's just what he eats.
That would be a deep cut, but
That's why he has
but
such,
he eats creamed corn
oh, of course.
and then pukes it up with poison mixed in.
And dog parts.
The FBI trio head to the interrogation room and open the blinds to speak to Cooper. Mr. C greets Cole with a thumbs up and a terrifying attempt at a human smile, telling him it's very, very good to see him again, with the first very being spoken in reverse. Also, his voice is oddly pitched lower, giving him a very otherworldly and unsettling sound.
Yeah, that was very questionable. Like, I get, it's weird because they are pitching it down. Like, I would have understood them like fucking with it because it's coming over an intercom.
Mm-hmm.
But this made it sound like it's like slowed tape and it's a recording or something. Like it just felt like
Here's a
this is
theory
what.
I just came up with.
Well, this is what I kind of was. This is my kind of my theory is like in case of Gordon, say this thing. But it feels so alien. Like
It
not
does, and I think that's by design, right? Like it feels like a recording
because
because
Gordon
as I
or
mentioned, he repeats himself.
Mr. C sounds like Coop all through the rest of the part of the stuff when he's doing his shit. But like anyway, it's wild.
Well, yeah, when he's interacting with people in person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he does pitch his voice a little lower. You can tell.
Sure, he's
Like
bad
there's
guy, but this was like
yeah,
wildly
but
lower.
and my theory is that it's because they're hearing it over the intercom. This is an electronic transmission of his voice.
Hmm.
So because he's a corruption of Cooper, and because there's that link between electricity and the traveling of these souls and bodies, like his aura, his radiation, whatever you want to call it, corrupts that electronic signal that comes through the speaker. So it sounds distorted. It sounds less than human.
Right. No, that's what I'm hoping this is going
That's
on.
that's my in canon
Sure.
explanation for it.
That's what I'm hoping, and I'm glad we shared that. Part of me also, though, the cynical part of me is just like Lynch doesn't trust people, and he's just making it be this way to sound off. So people are like, "What?"
I'm sure part of it is to set tone as well, because it definitely does that. Like it makes you uneasy to hear him speak, and that's not just the low pitch; it's also the cadence that Kyle MacLachlan uses as he delivers the lines.
So I don't really like Kyle MacLachlan's shot in this. I mean, it's fine. It's serviceable, but I love the shot of the three of them in the dark room. Their perspective. I think that's a great shot. I think that's a cool. It's very dark, and then there's the console in front of them, and they're all just kind of sitting there, and it is weird. Like, you know, they
kind of has
alluding
Last
to
Supper
Tammy
vibes a little bit to it.
They allude to the fact that Tammy gets car sick, but she seems fine. All through the process, it looks like fucking Albert's gonna fucking die. You know, he's like, it looks like.
Well, there's an explanation for that.
No, I know. They kind of talk about it, but it's like, why are none of them feeling that? Why is he the only guy that's experiencing it?
The way I see it, I mean, Tammy never knew Cooper, for one, so she has no idea what to expect. Albert was Cooper's friend. So seeing this corruption of Cooper that he knows is not his friend is probably painful for him. Gordon's playing it cool because he is milking this alien entity for information.
Right. No,
so that's why Gordon's the only one speaking.
No, I get that.
Albert would blow the cover. Albert would speak right away. You're not fucking Cooper. You're not my friend. He'd blow the whole thing.
Sure. Okay. That's fine. But I still don't understand like why he would be so like gut-wrenchingly sick looking.
It was at that specific line, which we'll get into later.
All right.
So Gordon plays along with the charade, but Albert and Tammy remain silent and expressionless, at least for a little bit. Mr. C claims that his absence has been spent working undercover with Philip Jeffries. That's David Bowie, for those of you keeping track. This causes Albert to perk up a little bit. Mr. C claims he will tell Cole the whole story when he debriefs him, also claiming that he was on his way to Cole to do just that when he was picked up by Highway Patrol. Mr. C repeats himself verbatim, which again, like, adds to this, like, this is not a human. This is something playing at being human.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what continuing to give the impression that this is something else piloting a human body. He then claimed that he had sent a message to let Philip, specifically a message to let Philip know that it was safe. That statement gets another reaction from Albert, one that Gordon notices. Mr. C asks Gordon when he's going to get him out of here, but Cole tells him that local PD has more than enough to hold him for now, and that it's going to take some work to get him home for debriefing. Mr. C ominously tells Cole, "I never really left home," before offering another ghastly thumbs up in farewell. After the blinds close, the three agents glance at each other uneasily. Exiting the prison, Cole instructs the warden.
Just really first, I do really like that I got the sense initially that Gordon and Albert from this situation knew that wasn't the real Cooper, or something was up with Cooper. That wasn't the right Cooper. Like, yeah, I could tell
they're obviously freaked out.
There's something going on. Obviously, Tammy doesn't know Cooper, so she's just kind of sitting there in this kind of whatever. But like, I felt the other two, and I was like very afraid that, like, man, I hope we don't drag this out as like this is the real Coop. But I was obviously anyway. Let's just keep going.
Your fears were unfounded. Like, right. they obviously really, understand.
Like, I understand that, like, fucking Lynch, like, when you look at what was happening with Dougie and just like the continuous like play of this whole thing, least that makes a bit more sense in what's going on there. But I was like, man, let's not drag this out. Can we not? Like, I don't want to deal with this. If they're gonna drag this fucking stupid shit out, I do not want to be a part of it. Like, can we be smart?
No.
And thank God. Anyway.
Yeah. Partial Cooper may have fooled Dougie's family, but Doppelganger Cooper is not fooling Cooper's family.
Right.
Yeah. No, you don't have to worry about that. Yeah, they both definitely they show their unease very well. And this is one of my favorite scenes in the whole show too. This you get the sense of menace from Mr. C, and you get the sense of fear from Albert and Gordon.
My favorite line actually comes up when they're walking out of the down the hallway. My favorite line, that David Lynch or Gordon says. That's like my favorite line in the whole
private
show.
phone call.
Yeah. Make sure he gets his private phone call, and then you let me know.
Yeah, I expect to hear all about
it. That's like my favorite line. Yeah. Like, I actually laughed. I said, "That's the best fucking line I think in this whole series so far." I think that's so smart ass and like, fuck yeah, finally.
Yeah.
Anyway, I like that line.
Yeah, it was amusing. And that was the last bit of recap from that. So outside the prison under a heavy blue filter.
No, so it's not blue filter. So what that is it? That's called day for night. So for some reason they decided that, I guess Lynch decided that this had to happen at nighttime. And or like close to nighttime. And a lot of us filmmakers use it when we're in a pinch. We need to we shoot a lot of nighttime stuff, and then we need to kind of fit something in a nighttime. So this is
the black and white version of this, but not the color version.
So the color version has been used quite a bit. You'll you want to know a good example of day for night in a big movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
The end of Hunt for Red October, when Alec Baldwin and Sean Connery at the very end, and they're bringing the ship into the port. It's very bluish. The sun is shining, but the blue washes over, so it looks like they're at nighttime, but they're in a very blue tint. Like, it's a very day for night scene, probably because of a submarine. I don't know what they're. Anyway, here's the problem with this day for night scene. It's an easy, like, here's a crazy thing, Gabe. So any editing software you have has a day for night function. You just click it and it does it. It's like, oh, the problem with day for night, and you'll notice this, is that it just makes it this is the worst version of it, because it does look like a blue filter because of it's a fucking sunny day. So the sun is clearly beating on them. So it's just like this white light, like intense light. So it looks like it's just a blue filter.
So it's like he wanted to shoot this scene in cloudy conditions and the weather didn't cooperate?
You want to shoot... No, I don't even think that's what it is. I think... But yeah, generally you want to do day for night in like not a sunny outside. You want it muted clouds so that it kind of works and you can kind of play with it more. When you shoot it in a sunny day, it looks fucking weird. So like when I'm watching this, it's like, what the fuck is
Yeah.
But then in my head, I'm like, there's no reason. They didn't say any time. They entered during the daytime. They didn't say it was night or whatever. I think there's no real reason this has to be shot at night. So why are they doing day for night? And then I'm like, I think it's just what Lynch wanted. I think he wanted the darkerness of it, but it just looks so goofy and bad.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem to serve a purpose toward the narrative, and I didn't get it myself.
This is kind of he's a visionary. He does a lot of cool stuff, but sometimes he's just kind of lazy. Because like there's other stuff where he shot it at night.
Yeah,
and it's night, and it's like, we shot it during the day.
Yeah, we get plenty of that.
Why not just make it during the day? Like, I would have just kept it at daytime. I don't understand why he told Dwayne, hey man, let's just make that day for night. It's like, really? Because like, it's weird because like it's nighttime, but then you just have this like light of sunlight like burning on the silhouette, and it just looks so unnatural, and it's just like, man, that's lazy. That's lazy as fuck. And that's just kind of where I'm at on this. But the problem with that is, this is a really cool fucking scene. This is probably the best scene in the whole. I mean, I like the look of the prison scene of the three people talking to Coop or Mr. C.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the interaction between Gordon and Albert, this is a great scene. This is like some of the best dialogue. It's some of the best interaction. They have a really great scene. It's just, why the choice to go day for night? So
yeah.
So I don't know. We haven't really talked.
Anyway,
yeah. Oh well, and also this is also talks about some of the sexism in the, because you have
Tammy.
Yeah. I mean, that walk. I mean, it's a great walk. I mean, I'm a pervert too. I get it. Like, but anyway, you go ahead, Gabe.
Yeah. It's. I guess in that respect, I can be old school a lot of times as well. In that, like, I don't mind appreciating a woman's physical form. I don't think it's bad to highlight that, particularly with their consent. But at the same time, I understand the fact that that is not all a woman is. I don't want to see them reduced simply, like, their value is not
But so
strictly
far, that's
in their
all
physical
she's been
form.
reduced to.
That's not true.
I mean,
it's all we as the audience have gotten to see. But in the conversation between Cole and Denise,
yes,
they established that she's a very good agent, and that she's got the stuff, which we'll learn later means more than just tagging along.
But Denise preface like, "You're taking her because she's a hot piece of ass," and he's like, "No, but she's also really talented." So like
you can be both.
I know that's fine, but then, then she is. I mean, we didn't really talk about the scene where they come out of the airport and she's walking all sexy into the car, and then
I think she just walks like that whenever she's on camera.
I mean, she's wearing heels. But I think it's all part. I mean, well, in the scene into the diner, no, I 100% believe that's walked up because they're commenting on it.
He told her to ramp it up. I'm sure he told her to be vampy. Anyway, let's get the recap so everybody knows what the fuck we're talking about. If they haven't watched the episode, which you really should. Why aren't you watching the episodes before you listen to us?
Watch along.
Or watch before. Because we're not watching the episodes when we ramble. Tammy refutes Mr. C's claims of heading to Philadelphia, pointing out that he was traveling west when he was caught. She also comments that many people who have come in contact with him have become physically ill, and worries after Albert's health before she asks about Philip Jeffries. Apparently, Cole hasn't given her a lot of background info on this case. Cole instructs Tammy to wait inside so he and Albert can have a private discussion. And the camera takes an extended moment to objectify her before we move on. That's how I wrote it up.
Oh, and Albert says, "I'm feeling better now," or something like that.
Yeah, he makes a...
Yeah, there's a David Lynch comment.
An old school man would consider a compliment. A modern woman would not necessarily interpret it as such.
But I just thought that I don't think Albert would have said that. And I think that's 100% Lynch just being a fucking... He's just like,
Albert would have definitely said that.
I don't think so. What?
I do.
Think Albert would have said that.
I do.
So?
Yeah.
No, not old Albert.
Albert is an animal.
First season Albert?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Albert, who called Truman a knuckle dragger?
That's fine.
He would 100% appreciate something like that out loud. We'll have to agree to disagree on that.
Disagree 100%. Albert's a good man.
He is a good man. But that doesn't mean you can't appreciate a nice ass every now and again.
You're just lumping all men into that, and I think Albert's different. He's built
different.
Not all men.
Sorry, what?
Anyway, let's get to the conversation.
The turn of phrase that came to my mind for this scene was, I hate to see her go, but I love to watch her leave.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway,
I just love how you're proving my point from earlier. Like David Lynch, old timer.
Yeah. It really is. He's obsessed with the beauty of the female form.
I mean, I get it. I love women
And
too. I mean,
I'm not going to dispute his use of that. I feel like it's respectful in the context of the story thus far.
not in every case. Maybe of Tammy, perhaps, but like Jay didn't need to be naked. There's like a lot of instances where it's like
That was realistic. I mean,
was
it was
it?
right after, yeah,
Fucking
it was
Coop,
right after they got
fucking
done
Dougie
fucking.
is fully clothed.
Okay, fair enough.
We had
They
this
should have both been
conversation last
naked.
episode. Like there was
No,
no
yeah,
reason that she
they should
needed to
have
be.
both been naked.
She's squatted next to him, fully naked, and he's like clothed, and it's like, well, she could have had her underwear and shit back on. Like it was just wild. Anyway,
Anyway, yeah, we're digressing.
listen, I am not digressing. I'm just refreshing your mind that
Revisiting.
he is
No,
a
you're right.
little that Lynch is a little bit that dude.
He is.
It's not bad.
Not like
It's not
that.
bad.
Yeah,
I would be that dude
that's a
too.
neat.
I get it. But
Yeah, we can't argue not being that dude to a certain degree ourselves.
there's
That's
here's a good thing. I'm gonna take sorry. I'm gonna stretch this out to 2.5 hours. Gabe, fuck it.
that's fine. You're on
my
a roll, man.
My film that I shared with you, the Dissonance.
Mhm.
I did shoot. So that shower scene in the beginning with the girl, I shot it.
Mhm.
Like I shot a whole bunch, like her just fully naked and shit. Like a bunch of that. I did a whole bunch of just gnarly naked shit to make it feel like, yeah, I can do whatever. I can do that shit. Yeah, she's down for it. She's cool with, yeah. Because just because you get the okay, doesn't mean it's okay. So then I shot all that, and then like in the editing process, I'm editing is like, what's the point of that? Why do I need to see her ass and her titties and all that shit? It's like, just tease it. Tease that shit. Get low, but like create, like, you know what it is. Like, why do I have to show you that? Like, I don't, like, and maybe in that shower scene, that makes sense to show it to you a little bit. But like in the last episode where she's squatted next to him talking, it's like, that makes no sense, in my opinion. Like, I get the idea initially going in, she's cool with it.
Well, no,
like,
I think the one scene that we stuck on was of her walking down the hallway.
well, I think
Which
my
was
initial
completely
scene
unnecessary.
is literally she's not laying next to him. She's like kind of squatting next to him with her ass and her tits, and she's like talking. It's just like, not only is it a weird shot, it's like she could have been under the covers.
I mean, maybe whatever they were doing didn't involve Dougie get naked.
Maybe.
Who knows?
You're
It's a
right.
possibility.
But there's 100%. She could still be in her underwear.
No,
and
it's
still would have
and, you know,
relayed.
you're right.
What
it
I'm
was
saying
it was more exploitative than I am presenting.
Anyway.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100%
I mean,
right. It was
Jennifer
not
Jason Leigh
necessary.
fucking dropping trowel from the if she walked from that front door of the hotel as she walked towards Cooper and got naked, would make more sense her naked than the whore, because he was actually going for sex and they weren't going to show it to you. That actually made more sense, in my opinion. But they don't do it there because they hide it, because Jennifer Jason Leigh isn't going to do that shit.
Beginning of the process, the end of the process,
Whatever. I'm just saying, like, you have this new
There are
young
lots of people
girl
who don't
working
put their
in this
clothes
Lynch film,
on.
and she's like, yeah, I'm going to get naked for a Lynch thing because it's going to, help my career. And it's just like, that's kind of shitty. And like, that feels shitty. And I know that because I've worked in not only, I don't want to get into some of this, but I've worked in some industry stuff. I've done some stuff, and I know how it works. And I feel like that's shitty, man. Like, she could still have her underwear on, and we still would have known she was a worker of the night. Anyway,
I think the point that Ian's trying to make is that it is still possible to exploit people who have given you consent.
Yes. Sure.
So, consent is an ever-evolving thing.
And Lynch exploited heavily. No. I'm just going to dance on his fucking grave.
I mean,
I'm just
We
kidding.
already fucking
Hey,
lost Neil Gaiman. Can you give
let's.
it a rest?
I'm not. I'm not.
That one was hard enough.
Listen, David Lynch is fine. He's not really that bad. He's just a pervy old man. I'm a pervy old man. It's fine. You can still do it. They want to. Yeah, they want to do it. That's fine.
But
Whatever. I'm just saying.
acknowledge it, recognize it for what it is. Be honest about it. I get you. I get you.
Does your art really need it, or are you being a pervert? Ultimately, like maybe your art does need it, and that's fine.
There's so much art in the world about that's a commentary on how repressed Americans' idea of sexuality is as well,
Sure,
though.
sure.
So there's that argument to be made here too.
But your
Maybe
art has to
shooting in
be. But your art
television-
has to represent that you're fighting against that. This is not that, in my opinion.
So, like, if the only time we saw the Jade naked was when she was in the shower, that would have made sense then.
But I wouldn't have shown her like fucking naked. I just would have kind of showed the back and this maybe some side boob. You know, I would. Why?
Yeah.
People don't need to. You don't. Need, but we saw her quite a bit in that naked. You know.
Yeah.
Why do we need to see that? I don't know. Not
So
that
for
we
you,
don't need
there's-
to see it. Here's the thing. You guys are like, Ian, we wanted to see it. I said, I get it. You're dudes. But like women, you gotta like take all the people. There's not just men that like David Lynch stuff. There's like, anyway,
there's
there's other people that
You know,
are
there
equally
are-
interested in David Lynch stuff.
and for those of you who have watched
And I can't believe I'm defending all this.
Watchmen, for those of you who have watched Watchmen, there is also a market for gratuitous male nudity in prestige TV.
Sure. Yes.
Quite gratuitous male nudity. For those of you who haven't seen Watchmen. I mean, damn.
But I think at this point, like, it's harder to. I mean, whatever. I don't care.
Whatever.
Men being naked is not the equality to women being naked, in my opinion.
You're right. You're right. It's not used to excite the audience in the same way.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, we don't have much more to go, so let's wrap up here. Gordon turns up his hearing aids all the way so he and Albert can speak quietly. Based on Albert's reaction to Mr. C's statements, Cole seems to know that there's something Albert hasn't told him. Albert confesses to having some time ago authorizing Jeffries to give Cooper certain information. That information being the identity of an informant in Colombia who was killed a week after his conversation with Jeffries. So yeah, this is why Albert is upset, is because he was fooled. Like he heard from Jeffries, like Cole explained, like he never talked to Cooper directly,
Right.
but he was told by Jeffries that Cooper was in trouble. So again, this ties back to Albert's relationship with Cooper being exploited for Mr. C's gains.
I have a question. Then what is Isaac, what's his name? The actor, the singer who's in Fire Walk with Me.
Chris Isaac.
Is Chris Isaac? Does he
Chester
come up?
Desmond.
Does he come up again in this or no?
No.
No.
They do not mention.
So that was
Agent
just
Desmond.
like a random character that showed up and then just kind of
The only reason Chris Isaac was in that movie was because Kyle MacLachlan
didn't want to
refused. Yeah,
right.
refused to do more than. Yeah, he didn't want to be typecast, so he wanted to limit his screen time as Cooper. All of the scenes for Chris Isaac were originally written for Cooper.
Gotcha. And that's why you don't really understand why he disappeared. Because then Cooper shows up and then it's like, oh, he just takes over.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. There is like I said, there's the supplemental material. I've touched on parts of Secret History, which is more stuff that happens before the show and is more like history of the townspeople versus final dossier, which is what kind of fills in some of the blanks between the two series and then answers some of the questions that we don't get full answers to in the return. So, yeah, final dossier we're not going to cover until we're done.
Was Chris Isaac
And then
approached for this or no? Never.
As far as I know, he was not.
Are there people...
Wasn't even considered.
I don't remember now. I know when we did the actor roll call, but were there a bunch of actors that were approached that didn't come back aside from kind of the main actors? Were there other actors that were like approached to do this series?
From what I understand, the only one who was approached and said no was Michael Onkian.
That's okay, but there's no like other crazy
anyone else
or any other weird stuff that like,
no,
nothing you know of?
like everybody, yeah. We'll touch on that a little bit in post-show stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, like anybody else besides Michael Onkian, who was an original cast member that didn't show up, it was because Lynch did not ask them. There were some talks about bringing Joan Chen back, but it didn't work out in the story process, and that's something we can't discuss until the very, very end.
And they couldn't find the same like nightstand that she was trapped in, so couldn't possibly bring her back.
Yeah, it would have just been him in a junkyard. What was the point?
Okay, sorry. All right, continue on.
We got a little bit more recap to cover before we just turn it loose.
Oh, we've been turning it loose all night, baby.
We have. It's another good episode. Yeah. So yes, Cole and Albert are both clearly in agreement that something is very, very wrong with Cooper. And Gordon reluctantly admits his lack of understanding of the whole situation. I feel like this is very well conveyed here.
No, this is a great scene.
Yes,
I love this
Cole
scene.
admitting that he's out of his depth, like being this late in his career and being like, I don't fucking know what's going on. And maybe, again, that's a meta commentary. Maybe, again, it's like Lynch coming back to Twin Peaks and is like, yes, I see something, but I don't know where we're going here. Maybe this is his excitement coming through, his sense of discovery, which a lot of writing, and I know this from a personal experience, a lot of writing, what excites you about accomplishment in writing is the sense of discovery, like uncovering things about the story that you didn't realize you already knew, these pieces that were already inside of you that are suddenly spilling out. And maybe this is part of that representation here.
100%. 100%. I agree with that. My other thing that I took away from this, and we still have more to do, but he turns it up, right? He turns it up. But what he's really doing is he's turning it down. Because he gets to act. David Lynch is acting quiet. With Albert quiet. I know he's turning it up. So we can hear. But he's really turning it.
Cole's
he's
songs
really
are all about the bombast and are all about the volume and
And what I got from this
that's
is
how you know he's being serious.
But when I really but from this though, just how good of an actor David Lynch is. Like just how well he holds. I think he even holds it better than Albert, what's his name?
Miguel Ferrer.
Miguel Ferrer. Like Lynch is so fucking stoic and just a fucking like a beast in the frame. Like when he's just like staring at him, like he's just like so intense. It's just like he kind of almost misses. He almost misses
repeating his name.
He almost
just, Albert.
Yeah.
Over. Yeah.
Like Lynch is so fucking good. Like this scene is so. This is why the Day for Night drives me fucking nuts, because this scene is so fucking good, in my opinion. This is like one of the best scenes. Like Gabe thought I was just gonna shit on the show all the time, and I'm gonna shit on the show all the time. But like,
I knew you wouldn't do it all the time.
There's gonna be a lot. There's gonna be a lot of it. But like,
I knew you'd find diamonds in the rough. So.
David Lynch is such a fucking beast here, man. Like, I was so impressed. Because like, I've not, like, I don't think I've really. I've seen him act in like some of his small stuff, and this is kind of goofy. And then obviously in Twin Peaks where he's being loud Gordon. But when he's actively turning it up, which though, like I said, turning it down, and he gets into it, it's like, wow, he's really actually got it. And I'm surprised that he, never did it more. But it's really impressive here. Like he really knew what he wanted, and I think Albert is bringing it out of him, and then he's bringing it out of Albert. I think those two are they're just both feeding off each other, and it's fucking intense. And it deserved better than Day for Night. That's my thing, dude. It's just like, goddamn,
so you really feel like that watch
you fucking
just
hamstring this fucking scene, dude. It's just, it's rough, but it's so good, and it's just like, god damn it. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's like, it's so good. Like, it's so like Lynch is so good here, dude. Like
I can see him.
He's
like
so
I can
good.
see this not wanting to be filmed in the sunlight. Like this is is a scene that was written for a cloudy day.
And they probably had some time. They probably had timers. I mean, he's not making a movie where he has a bit of like play. He's like, he's got to make 20 some episodes or whatever. And he's like, this is the schedule. We got to like do this. It's like, fuck it. We're just going to do it now and we'll Day for Night it. I get it. That's fine. But it's just like, that's too bad. Cause this scene could have been really something instead of this kind of like, this blue filter or whatever you thought it was. But it's just like, all right. But like through it, I can still like, take that away and just look at it and be like, god damn, he's like destroying here. And anyway, this is a great scene on Lynch's part. It's like, it's awesome.
On both their parts, there's a lot of vulnerability in Albert,
and you don't
here,
get a lot of this,
which is something.
You don't get a lot of this
you
from
didn't
Lynch.
see from.
You don't get a lot of this kind of
or Miguel Ferrer.
Yeah, but
Miguel Ferrer is like one of those guys who plays like really externally hard and like again like very sarcastic.
But
and
these type of scenes, Gabe, you don't get a lot from Lynch. There's a lot of you don't get a lot of this kind of really intense one-on-one stuff. It's a lot of other stuff going on generally.
And when it does happen, it's genuinely important to what's going on.
Anyway, you can I know we're only halfway through it. I'm sorry.
Jesus, yeah. There is literally like 30 seconds of the show left, and we're just rambling. Gordon reluctantly admits his lack of understanding of the situation. Blue Rose, Albert states, to which Cole agrees it doesn't get any bluer.
See that? There you go. Like, maybe it was the point.
Shut up. Shut up.
Maybe the whole Day for Night blue was the whole point.
Maybe. Gordon says that they're going to need the opinion of at least one more person before they can move forward in regards to this situation with Cooper. Albert is right there with him. Cole asks, "Do you know where she lives?" And Albert replies, "I know where she drinks."
Irish roll, of course. To the bar.
And with that, we cut to the Bang Bang Bar, a.k.a. the Roadhouse, where this week's musical guest is Au Revoir Simone. They perform their single Lark as the end credits roll. I don't want to objectify, but personally, I found the redhead member.
Oh.
They're all keyboardists.
No, there's the drum
Every
player.
one of them is playing a keyboard.
There's the drum. No,
she has a keyboard in front of her,
she
too,
does,
though.
but it's a loop drum beat. She has a drumstick. And then there's the lead singer. And then there's the actual...
The one on the right. The one on the right. She was my favorite.
As you're looking at it, the one on the right, yes. The one with the...
Stage right.
As we objectify women, she was dressed very provocatively and very attractive, and I also saw that. So yes. So the person that knew Coop the best. Can I make a guess? And it's going to be wrong.
You can speculate. I'm not going to respond one way or the other to who your guess is.
I mean, I feel like it should be Annie, right? Heather Graham, but Heather Graham's not in the show, right? So I don't know who it is, but
It's
I
not
just.
out of it's not unheard of to recast
Oh, we're gonna
people in Twin
recast her.
Peaks.
All right. Okay. But that would be my guess because she's. Well, I mean, she's not really from Twin Peaks, but like, who else would like? That's the last person
I mean,
that.
Gordon and Albert and Tammy are definitely not confined to Twin Peaks. We haven't seen them there yet.
You're right.
They've only been in Philadelphia or South Dakota.
Do they actually go to South Twin Peaks? He's not gonna ask me if he's not gonna tell me. All right.
You keep asking me spoiler related questions, and every time you tell me I don't answer the question, you say it's confirmation. So
Oh
I'm
no
reluctant
no.
to pretty much answer
When
any
I
question
say
you have at
that
this point.
that's just me like razzing your balls. Like
Yeah.
I guess
So,
the
at least
first
half of the time it's true, though. Is the
the
thing.
first person that when they said I don't know it, but I know she drinks, and then I knew that the Roadhouse in my head. It's like even when they showed it, it's like the Roadhouse. But then in my head, it's like who is that going to be? It's like, well, I guess it's got to be Annie. But they didn't have that much of a relationship at that point. So like how she didn't
Right.
really
They
know
knew
that
each other
much.
for like, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, so like she didn't really know, but like that's the first person I thought of in Twin Peaks. But like who else in Twin Peaks knew that much about him? So I don't know. That was my thought, but it's like
Oh. Audrey didn't cross your brain?
Audrey. I mean, no, Audrey actually wasn't because they didn't end up together. But
They didn't, but they were good friends.
were
They
they?
spent a lot of time together.
Questionable.
Hmm.
Questionable amount of time together. I mean, if you think about the amount of time that show takes place, you're asking us to like take a very large leap. Sure, Audrey might be the one. Maybe it is. Maybe like that's her like what her 2-second cameo. I don't know, man. Blah 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 blah.
I'll say that I'm surprised that there are some connections you're not making right now, but
Oh, about who he
you'll
should be.
you'll you'll get the answers to your questions soon enough in that regard.
Mm,
As far as who
there's some
she
connections.
is,
Oh, okay. Maybe it's not.
you won't have to wait long to find out who Albert and Gordon are talking about. I'll say that.
Well, but I should know who it is, though. It is an original
I'm,
cast
I'm
member.
surprised. I'm
Is
surprised
it?
it's a
It is
theory
original.
you haven't hit on yet.
It is an original cast member, though. He's not gonna tell me.
I'm not going to tell you. What I am going to tell you instead is that this week's special feature, or the special feature that accompanied the disc that I'm watching as part of the box set right now, is the 2017 Comic-Con panel for Twin Peaks. So it was a little over an hour long. There wasn't a lot of note. Stuff like this, I don't like these panel discussions. I really don't, because a lot of it is them like trying to find ways not to answer stupid nerd questions.
Right.
It's them like trying to compliment the nerds without also giving in to their geekery. And so these kinds of conversations are always awkward for me, and it's not helped by the fact that they have like 10 people in this panel. So yeah, this was Comic-Con 2017. At the time that the panel was held, they had already aired the first 10 episodes of The Return. So there was a lot of stuff that was discussed in the panel that I can't bring up now. I'll just point out a couple of my favorite highlights. One of the first things that caught my attention was so let me see if I remember all of the panel members correctly. And one of them I'm going to have to look up because he hasn't actually appeared in the show yet. So we did have. They said at the outset that Frost and Lynch were not able to come. They had a pre-taped message from Lynch that was suitably weird and involved lots of false starts. The weirdest of which was him prying a golf ball out of what looked like a dead hand, like a dead man's hand, and him holding up the golf ball and saying, This is the last golf ball that O.J. Simpson played with before he went to prison. And then it just like cuts to like static. So just fucking weird shit. But yeah, so the panel is Kyle MacLachlan, Naomi Watts, Tim Roth, who we haven't seen yet in the series. Dana Ashbrook, that's Bobby. Kenny Robertson, Lucy. James Marshall, who's James Hurley. Ed, shit, what's the guy's name? Everett McGill, who plays Big Ed Hurley. Matthew Lillard.
Ruh-roh.
And then, shit. Where is this actor? I'm going to have to... It's going to take me a minute to find him. Because he doesn't turn up for several episodes yet. The character's name that he plays is Bernard Mullins. I remember that much. And he's an older man. But anyway, yeah. There's not much discussion of substance regarding the show itself. Like I said, it's a lot of just fan service. The first thing that caught my attention was Matthew Lillard's admission that he had never watched the original series.
Good man.
Even after he had filmed The Return.
I get it.
He did say that he was watching along with The Return, but the only thing he could comment on was that it's weird. It's really, really weird. You guys have seen episode 8, right? And the crowd went nuts, and that was his main comment on it.
Is episode 8 the weirdest?
Yes.
Okay.
Not going to shy away from that. Episode 8 is, if you really want to think of this as television, then episode 8 is the strangest hour of television I've ever watched in my life.
Is that the one with 9 Inch Nails on it?
Yes.
Wait, is it? No. It's not 9 Inch Nails though, because I remember seeing photos way back then. Isn't Mary Queen in that?
Yeah.
So it's like it's like How to Destroy Angels technically.
She's performing with 9 Inch Nails,
Oh, so
and if I remember correctly, she actually does.
They're doing a 9 Inch Nails.
They're doing a 9 Inch Nails song, right. And if I remember correctly, she does appear on the track, but I would have to look for the credits for that.
Oh, is it like
because they don't?
Is it a Hesitation Mark song or something?
Later. I'm not going to tell you which one. I'll let you decide. I think we did mention earlier the first one Trent had given him as like, a demo to like, okay, how about this song? Lynch told him it wasn't dark enough.
So it's one of the ones off the trilogy. That's what you're saying. Is something new? Is different? It's like it's an original?
It's not something you've never heard before, no. It's something that was published later.
But on the 9 Inch Nails proper album? So it's on one like he like Add Violence or Bad Witch or something. He's just gonna keep drinking. It's like a remix of Burn or something.
Don't make me drink again. Other fun stories. Everett McGill, the call he got to return to the series, he talked a little bit about how Lynch had to reach out to his Twitter followers to try and find him because he'd been retired for quite a long time at that point. So he got the call coincidentally. Apparently he owns a second home that he just uses to store cars in.
He's doing well.
Yeah, he does all right. He invested well. Because, I mean, like I said, he hasn't acted since the 90s, so... but he does have an active phone line at that house, and he says he visits that house like once every couple of weeks to drive the cars around. And he just happened to be in there, and the phone rang. and it was David Lynch asking him if he wanted to return to Twin Peaks.
And he said, "Sure, I'd love to act for like 2 seconds
He did.
in the hour-long show because that's all I ever got."
Yeah. And so the other interesting stories were about Lynch's directing style. Everybody
Sexist.
was no. I mean, nobody brought that up. It was true, but everybody was very, very, very complimentary, and everybody talked about how collaborative he was. And he's like every. One of the things that Kyle MacLachlan said specifically was that David Lynch just kind of spoiled him on Hollywood as a whole because of how good a time he had on the sets of Dune and Blue Velvet and how much input he felt like he had. And he's like, yeah, when I went out into real Hollywood, I learned it wasn't like that. So yeah, David Lynch just kind of spoiled me in general. And so you can see why he's been so picky about his roles. I mean, it's not necessarily the scripts he gets or the roles he gets offered. He's like James Gunn. He's got the no assholes rule. And it's because Lynch was his introduction to Hollywood, and Lynch is such a phenomenally nice guy on the other side of the camera, which, pretty much everyone he's worked with will attest to.
And Kyle just fucked him over on Fire Walk with Me, man. Just like, you've been so good to me,
him.
but like, all right, bro, get fucked.
Naomi Watts, when she was asked the question, who do you get starstruck around? She said it was Lynch. Just because and both her and Kyle said this, like, yeah, there's David, my friend, and then there's David the artist. And when David the artist gets going, it's just such a sight to behold. And just watching him work as David the artist is just so awe-inspiring.
No one ever says that about me. When Ian the artist is working, no one ever says that about me. Everyone just says like, "Can we go? I'm fucking hungry." It's like,
yeah. Ian the slave driver. Yeah.
It's like,
well, I never complained about your directing style. I think we work well together. So a couple other stories. David Lynch brings up one time on the set of The Return that Jim Belushi decided to ad-lib during the filming of a particularly intense scene. As soon as he said this line that wasn't scripted, Lynch called cut to the scene. Lynch is famous for having the megaphone on set. And so after calling cut, what he said on the megaphone was, "Mr. Belushi, do I need to send you to the principal's office?" And lots of little chuckles on the set, and Jim Belushi said, "No, sir, I understand." And there was no ad-libbing from him for the rest of that particular shoot. So that, doing my impression right there, kind of makes me think
collaborative.
No, anyway. Maybe it was a bad ad-lib. Maybe, collaborative before the cameras are running is one thing. But like having done my little impression of him there, it makes me think that like Gordon Cole speaking is just like David Lynch speaking through the megaphone.
You should ask, hey, you know what you should do right now? You should say, you should be Gordon, do Gordon's voice, but say, Gabe, are you there?
Gabe, are you there?
That's great.
Give me some other lines to read as Gordon Cole here. Because it sounds good in my head, but you know how people's voices sound different in their own heads, so.
Blank as a fart. Oh, I want him to do. I want
a promo.
I can cut this together as like Gabe, are you there? Blank as a fart is blank as a fart. Something about blank as a fart. I get it, but I don't think it's fully realized. Or blank as a fart. I get it.
I got some ideas. All right. Okay. Gabe! Gabe, are you there? It's Gordon! Gordon Cole! Blank as a Fart has a new episode coming out this Wednesday. That's right. That's their usual night. I think you might want to take a listen and see if they tell you about the owls. The owls may have a sour sound to them. There you go, folks. That's my Gordon Cole.
There you go, baby. Now we're just gonna put that in all the. We'll have to put that in all the marketing materials that we do so much.
Right.
All the marketing materials that we do so much.
My shitty drunk Lynch impression. One last story that came out of the Comic-Con. I don't know if I mentioned it, but Damon Lindelof was the moderator.
Okay.
Gave a big speech in the beginning about how, if not for Twin Peaks, there would have been no Lost.
Sure.
Which we touched on in that documentary that we covered a few weeks back.
Indeed.
So anyway, yeah, it was Everett McGill again telling a story about, like, they all talk again. They were talking about how Lynch was a great collaborator and always very warm and friendly to work with. But McGill pointed out, yeah, he had his sharp edges too. He brings up when they were filming the scene where Big Ed is giving the whole exposition about the night he shot out Nadine's eye. And so they've done a few takes of it, and Everett's not feeling it. He feels like it's too long. He feels like he's sitting still for too long, you know.
Sure.
And so he goes to Lynch and he's like, hey, David, do you really think the audience is gonna, sit still and tune in for this whole thing? And Lynch's response apparently was, well, I'll tell you what. I'll just go out down here into the office and wander up and down the halls and holler for somebody to read your lines. And we'll cut the scene again with this person reading your lines. And you can just stand behind them and stand there nodding while we do the take. How does that sound? And so that was his, like, shut up and do your job response.
Right. That's awesome.
But he, like Everett said, he did it in, he didn't change his tone of voice any. Like, this was exactly how he would have given me direction during a scene. But this was how he was just like, you need to piss again?
No. I have another idea for you, your Gordon Cole voice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
To me. Gabe, I like what you're doing, but that Ian fellow, I don't trust him. Something to that effect. Gabe, it's Gordon again. Gordon Cole. I like what you're doing with Blank as a Fart. But this Ian fellow, I'm not sure about him. Shifty eyes. And I don't trust ponytails. So good. I just, Hey guys, you can use that. You guys should like rip that off and like use it for your like. I'm using it for my ringtone.
I'm glad you like it. That makes me happy.
So good, awesome. Anyway, what else? What else we got? We got any other things we need to like disclose? I mean, we are here at the. Yeah, we have done it yet again, Gabe. Yeah, we've topped our record. We have rambled to no end. Do you think this might be harming our viewership? Going the too length long? Of these episodes. I don't think that matters. I do not think that matters. I will say this, Gabe. Tonight we've been pretty lucky. I keep trying to get them to ask. I've asked, like, hey, questions, anything, but people have been on just hanging out. We currently have 3 viewers. We've had a pinnacle of 7. So like tonight was
Oh, wow.
pretty decent for live views, and they were hanging out for a long time. And it's like, Coop, ask questions. I kept asking like, hey, you guys have anything you want to say? And I was like, no one wants to talk. I guess they're just like quietly watching us.
Yeah. We don't want to pressure, but we do want to encourage. We love to interact with our fans.
I'm going to kill Gabe. Ask me a question now.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you in any forum, even that email account we never check.
Yeah, go to blankasafartpod@gmail.com, and any question you ask, we will never answer.
We will never answer it there. But we do have an Instagram presence. That is probably our strongest promo tool right now. So Blank as a Fart on Instagram, Blank as a Fart on Facebook. Yeah, again, we do get some likes. We don't get a lot of comments, but we'd love some interaction. Even those of you who we know who feel shy about participating, please don't feel shy. We'd love to hear your opinions. We'd love to expand this conversation between just me and Ian and to get other points of view. I mean, that's really how this whole podcast started. And me wanting that different point of view.
We may come across as just like very cocksure male men who like can just have opinions, but like, you know, we're generally pretty shy folk, really. We're not like overly, like, we're friendly with each other, so we can be aggressively against each other. But we're like,
when we get together, when we get a few drinks in us, we can go on.
But you know, he and I out in like public, you know, trying to engage with other human beings, like we're just gonna be as shy as you are. So don't be afraid to hit us up. This is like an illusion. This is an illusion. Us being like so fucking.
Yeah, we promise to be respectful. We will not mock you. We will not make you feel unwelcome or uncomfortable.
And we're not old.
We welcome all views, except that anti-trans bullshit. You can fuck off with that.
Yes. Actually, you can, you know, if you're against equality or DEI or any of that shit, you can fuck off.
Yeah. People are people.
And free Palestine.
Recognize them as such. Stop killing everybody. Just stop killing people.
Do you want to kill your kids? Then stop killing other people, kids. Anyway. I think we got all the politics out of the way. Good.
We did. We're good. We have so much fun doing this podcast.
It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you to all of you who come along for the ride. We really appreciate you. We really do.
And I want to thank Gabe.
We would love to hear from you directly.
I want to thank Gabe for putting up with me. I know he thinks I hate the show, and maybe I do kind of secretly hate the show, but I find
you hate parts of it.
I do.
You don't hate it as a whole. I understand.
There's parts that I do like, and I know he's like he has to suck it up and take it. And I appreciate him. I mean, this is his show idea, and I enjoy doing it with him as a friend, and I'm glad we've done it. I mean, we've been doing it for like, what, 2 years now almost? A year and a half?
We haven't hit the year mark yet.
Have we not hit a year mark yet?
Not yet. I'm keeping track. We're close.
Oh, really?
I'll make sure. I'll make sure we all know.
I didn't realize we were not at a year yet. Anyway, that's me.
Not at a year yet. We got a little way to go.
My mind is running so fast, but... yeah, I want to thank you, Gabe, for, you know, I mean, I've been trying to get him to do a podcast for a long fucking time, but he brought this one to me, and we finally did it. But it's cool to do it.
I'm glad we took the plunge. Yeah, we're having a good time.
I don't know if it's turning out the way he wanted it to, but it's fun. So
it's everything I anticipated and more.
All right, Keith.
And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing at all.
All right. Keith.
Thanks again for joining us. We will see you next week with part 5. And yeah, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Take care. Let a smile be your umbrella.
Indeed.
Someday the sadness will end.
Or maybe it never will.
Mr. Jackpots over here.